All right, so I think the stream, thinking about things, ready to go though. So hello everybody, ZardX here, back at it again to give you another very exciting podcast episode with my ZardCast episode 120. And my goodness, I know y'all, it's been quite some time since I've been able to actually give out, my latest episode for the podcast. And, I think it's been like, almost 5 weeks now? I wanted to do this thing a few weeks ago. And something popped up with my schedule and whatever. Either I was tired or Steven was tired, one of the two, or something like that, a combination of different things. And then I wanted to hit it back another couple of weeks later. And then I was running into some computer issues. And then it was Easter weekend and whatnot, though. And because of the holiday and my computer, I was like, you know what, we're pushing this mess back an extra week. So I'm so sorry about the delay and everything else in between, though. But it might have worked out for the better, at least partially, I would say. Because there wasn't that much stuff that happened within this past week, like the only 1 week. However, there's some stuff we still need to catch up on. So we'll still have a jam-packed episode regardless, though. But, Steven, how's it going, man? Okay. You know what?
Old, no direct yet. So I'm just kind of waiting.
Oh, okay. Now, yeah, you just said you were chilling and stuff. I accidentally had you on mute, so I didn't hear that first little bit of what you said.
Okay.
But
yeah, I'm just chilling there.
Alrighty, I have to work out a few little kinks though. Man, have you ever messed around with Windows on your computer before? And you know how they have like these little things with OneDrive and stuff, and they want you to back everything up to the cloud. What happened last week was I accidentally hit yes when I meant to hit no, and I thought everything was fine. And then when I pulled up OBS, all my files were gone. I was like, no. You ain't telling me about this. It takes a whole country mile to set up all this stuff up in OBS. No, I still see my files. What the heck is going on? And I had to figure out how to deactivate that stuff, and it fixed everything.
Yeah.
But that's the reason why we didn't have it last week.
I hate OneDrive, okay? Because OneDrive, it tries to automatically back up stuff, but like just delete stuff. It is so annoying. So I completely understand where you're coming from. I genuinely hate it.
It could be a good thing if it was like its own thing, like Google Drive or whatever, though. But when it tries to back up your actual files, a lot of that stuff you just need to keep locally on your computer. Oh gosh, dang. Yeah, I ain't trying to get into all of that mess though, but it is ridiculous nonetheless, though. But yeah, in terms of everything we have to talk about tonight, though, we actually have a lot of stuff across the whole spread. We got everything from your pop culture stuff, because both me and Steven both managed to actually lay eyes on the Mario Galaxy movie, so you're going to hear our 2 cents on that. No spoilers, but just kind of like the general consensus, how we feeling, probably our letter grades, anything that we would normally kind of give in terms of just our natural ratings and reviews and such. We actually got some Marvel news and stuff to actually talk about. We got like a couple of different trailers, one for Punisher, one for Spiderman, so I know we want to probably throw our 2 cents up in there, because it's not every day you get to talk about Marvel related stuff. And then games that we've been playing, we'll probably be talking about just a few things we've been playing, though. But I know we did have a recent release with Pokemon Champions, so I know at least I got a couple of things to say about it, because I know I dabble with it. Not sure about Steven, though. And in terms of our SUBQUEST and stuff, yes, we managed to get a couple of release dates. I know people have been kind of dry and stuff in terms of, what games that they wanted to see Nintendo reveal in terms of first-party stuff. But some news on Yoshi, some news on Rhythm Heaven Groove, so things looking good, at least for some of the calendar stuff. We'll get into it a little later on in the show. Xbox Games Showcase was actually dated, so we can say just a few cents on that. There was actually a new update for the Nintendo Switch 2, a handheld boost mode. I got to dabble around with that, so we got a few things to mention about that. And in terms of the main missions, the big meaty potato segments of the show, PlayStation hardware prices have increased once again. Gosh dang it, Sony. Man, things ain't cheap now in the techno market across the board. We got new pricing for what would be Nintendo Switch 2 published games from Nintendo themselves, whether, how it's going to be priced with the retailer versus how it's going to be priced with the eShop stuff. And then just to sprinkle on a little bit of, I don't know if you want to call it a little salt, a little bit of sugar and stuff like that. People have been kind of overreacting and stuff like that. But I got to give my 2 cents on what Nate the Hate happened to drop out there in terms of some rumored games for what could be an Ocarina of Time remake. and a brand new Starfox. I didn't think I would actually, say either one of those. Well, one of those things. The second one I kind of predicted, but not the other one though. So yeah, that's gonna be all the show notes for tonight. So we have a pretty good one in store for y'all tonight. So let's not go ahead and dilly dally around. Let's go ahead and jump straight up in this mess though. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump straight up into that pop culture segment. Alrighty, Steven. So we managed to actually lay eyes on the new Mario Galaxy movie. And you know what? That Mario Galaxy movie, man, I'm thinking, how you feeling? Just raw impressions, all right? How are you feeling on this movie?
I think one word that I could describe my entire experience with was okay. Like, okay, yeah, alright, okay, okay. And then it just ends. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? It's like, I see where it's going. I see where it's going. Still waiting. Still waiting for it to go there. It's done.
Hmm.
That's like, at least for me, it's hard to call it a movie per se because it doesn't feel like it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. It does, but it's just like it just goes by so quick. Like boom, boom, boom. I'm not spoiling anything, obviously, but like just certain things. And like we seen from the trailers, we knew this movie was gonna be a bit of a bloated mess. They just constantly showed so much stuff in the trailers, announced so many characters. War Honey Queen, uh, this and that. It's just we knew it was going to be a bit of a packed movie, but like when you're actually sitting down and watching it, the you kind of just lose sight of this is a Galaxy movie.
Yeah,
I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I have to kind of piggyback off of that a little bit because at least while I was sitting there watching the movie, I felt like there was a lot of stuff going down. And even though this movie was an hour and a half, I think it would have been better if this movie was 2 hours because I felt like they were trying to do a lot within like some extremely confined a lot of time, if that makes sense. Because it's like they were rotating between what would be 3 different scenes. Like at some given points of the movie, I'll just say this: Team A might be on this side of the galaxy, Team B might be on this side of the galaxy, and then Team C would be on this part of the galaxy. It'll be kind of rotating between that. Then those 3 scenes get narrowed down to 2, and then eventually down to 1 by the time you get to the end of the movie, though. But it was enough scenes moving from back to back to back. It always kind of kept you on your toes, and it barely gave you any moments to breathe. So it just kind of felt like you were just kind of going down a constant freight train with like no breaks to like purely enjoy the scenery. There was a couple of moments in that movie, don't get me wrong, probably like obviously towards the beginning, the dead middle, and then obviously there's nothing at the end because at the end it's just nothing but action though. But it's not necessarily a bad thing, but I think it would have benefited a little bit better had we had an extra 30 minutes to kind of let the movie just breathe a little bit. It's like throwing a burrito up in the microwave and you're not going to let that thing, like cool down and you're just trying to shove it straight down your throat.
Yeah, there is one particular part, like about midway through the movie. Okay, and I can say this because he was revealed. Briefly, a little bit after Starfox shows up, where the movie just stops for like a solid like 5 minutes for nothing, and then starts back up again. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It's like it just stops, and it's like okay, yep, I'm watching, and yep, all the stuff we've seen in the trailer, great. They showed way too much of this movie in the trailers, by the way.
Oh no, that's the reason why I kind of stopped watching trailers after like the couple
like,
that we got with those Nintendo Directs, and then I was like, that's it. I don't want to see nothing else.
but even then, like it most of the scenes in this movie boil down to like 1 or 2 moments. It's like such a nothing experience. I don't even want to sound mean when saying that, but it's like such a nothing experience. It goes to so many different places, but you don't breathe in any of them. So you didn't like nothing feels like it's important. If you just show me place, 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 but nothing to actually get me interested, like no, I'm not gonna care. Like, I'm not gonna remember, oh, no, that galaxy is where they did this and where they did this. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna remember those areas. I'm just gonna go, oh, yep, yep, they did this, and then they did this, and then they did this, and then they went here, and then the movie ended. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, and I get
There's
it.
and it's got way too many quote unquote main characters. It has way too much going on for a movie that is this short and this focused on being a family movie. I don't even think I went with my brother. He was exhausted. Well, not exhausted, but like he was like tired while watching it. And I asked him like, "Is it the movie? Are you alright?" And he says to me, "It wasn't the movie." But I feel like the kids even had a hard. They must have had a hard time keeping up because it's like okay,
Well,
yeah.
no, maybe that's a fault of just this younger generation. Because some of these younger
Okay.
kids nowadays, they got some short. I mean, some short attention
No,
spans.
but
But
like,
even then, I feel like this is too short for even some of them. I don't
but
know.
yeah, because I feel like the first movie was grounded in some sort of, not reality, but like it was grounded in a way where like Mario had this anchor of being from from New
From our
York.
world, yeah.
So not from our world, but yes, like
You know what I mean? The closest thing to it, yeah.
yeah, in a sense, he was from our world. So all of this stuff was new to him. So it's like it feels more natural because it's like okay, the characters are explaining it to Mario as well. It has a little bit more time to breathe. He doesn't just instantly accept all this. While in this movie, it's like all right, yep, the characters seem like they already know what to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and typically when it comes down to these sequel movies, and I'm not throwing no slander or no boosting or anything like that, but I'm just throwing some parallels. We'll go with that. Typically, when you have a first movie, like for example, the Mario movie, the Sonic movie, those origin movies, they have a lot to explain. So you have a lot of slower moments because you kind of have to, get the audience engaged with what you're trying to lay down in this cinematic universe. You're trying to basically build up, right? So it's the origin movie. It's like that for almost any media franchise that you're trying to make a movie. Whereas when you go to your sequel movies, like your Sonic 2 versus what's with this Galaxy movie, you can skip a lot of that stuff. So you have already some legs to run, so you don't have to worry about repeating some of the same tropes or the same things that you might have brought up in that first movie. So it had an advantage for that. But had it not been for that first movie, oh man, this movie would have been off the freight trains right now though, because it went even a bit too fast for it to even be a sequel movie. So it had some
Yeah,
things going for it, but it still was going a little bit too fast.
and you know what? I will bring it up because I do think it's a good example. The second Sonic movie does mishmash a couple different games all into one. But you notice how in the do you watch the Sonic movies, right?
Yeah, I saw
The
them.
Sonic movies, they don't just throw in 15,000 characters. Like I've seen a good example online. What if the second Sonic movie had Knuckles and it also had Eggman and it also had Tails and it had Shadow and it
Oh yeah,
had
we've
Big
been slowly
like
getting those
like
characters. I see what you're talking about.
like
Yeah.
imagine even if like imagine Sonic Movie 3. Imagine Sonic Movie 3 if it was an actual adaptation of Sonic Adventure 2, introducing Shadow, introducing Rouge, introducing everything with Gerald and Maria, plus introducing everything with Gun, which the second movie introduced Gun already. See? Second movie already introduced Gun, so it was a bit more natural. Even then it's like it's just so much to introduce all in one movie. This movie, it's like okay, they just I'm trying not to spoil anything, but it's just like moment after moment after moment, and the
Well,
characters just
I'll
accept
keep it.
things.
I'll keep it just with what we saw in the trailers. Like if you saw
Okay,
any of
so
the
even
Nintendo Direct trailers, we already
okay,
knew Rosalina was in the mix.
yes,
We knew Yoshi was in the mix, and we knew Bowser Jr. Those were probably the three biggest. I say three biggest. I would say two biggest. But three biggest characters that you probably have up in the whole show, and then
well, yeah,
obviously there was one more. And I won't. Well, they threw it out there, and I kind of wish they didn't throw it
well,
out there with the whole Star Fox thing. But that's the
I
fourth
already
one.
mentioned Star Fox.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I already mentioned, and it's difficult because I'm not even spoiling. Star Fox is the best part of the movie. Okay, he steals the show in a way because like not only is he actually like somewhat interesting and a new character, but they like introduce him properly. You know what I mean? They introduce him. They give him a little bit of time to breathe. They give him a scene where he talks to someone and explains who he is and what he's doing. Okay, he has a motive. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
He actually has a reason that he's doing this. Okay, And like, yeah, there is like a reason why Peach goes and does her thing, but like, there's not really a reason that Mario, and because it's like Mario and the others, and then it's Peach, and then there's one more thing going on, and it just feels useless that there's a split up because nothing is done with it. They split them up briefly. Nothing is done with it, and then obviously all the characters come back together anyways. We've seen that in trailers. Like all the characters eventually meet back up, and then you're immediately in the end of the movie. Like it feels like the second act was just cut out. Your first act is established. You finally you see the galaxy side of it, and then you're immediately in the third act of the movie. Did you not feel that the whiplash?
Yeah, there was a little
It's
bit
like
of whiplash. I think it was like
it's like
roughly the point where they introduced Starfox, where it kind of just took a little jump, and I was like, "Wait, what?"
yeah,
And I was like, now going back and looking at it, I'm kind of noticing a little bit more
you
in
know.
retrospect.
I have a great example actually. I have a great example. Imagine if the Avengers movie, just let's just say Avengers 1 because that's a good example of like a movie with a ton of characters introduced in it. Imagine if Avengers opened with the same scene of Hawkeye like getting the Tesseract, or Loki getting the Tesseract and all that. Everything is the exact same, but imagine they skip everything with like Loki and the helicarrier. So the Avengers team immediately gets together, and then they're already in New York fighting the battle.
Oh, without having the civil discourse,
Yeah,
it's
without the
Tony
civil
going out,
discourse,
Tony going
without
after Steve's neck or something like that. Hulk going
yeah,
off and is doing his own thing. Loki
yeah,
can't buy.
without Hulk,
Yeah, yeah.
and then obviously without like them like arguing, and without like the helicarrier stuff, and like introducing everything with Shield. Imagine if they were just like, oh, I want to be yep, oh, that team Avengers, yeah, let's do it. And then they just beat up Loki. And then imagine the movie doesn't end with a tease at what's next. The movie doesn't end with like the characters like being seen as heroes from New York. Imagine they do the final hit on Loki, and then it like zooms out, and then that's it. Like there's like it feels like there's no resolution. It feels like I got out of the theater and I'm like, all right, that was fun. That was fun, I guess. Not really. It's not a movie I desire a rewatch of. There's like nothing I can genuinely think of, because like I do agree with a lot of the reviews where like it's just a lot of references, because it's like, yeah, that was okay, that was a cool reference. I liked that reference. That's cool. But there's only so many times I can look at a reference and be like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And I feel like,
Eventually, I'm gonna be like, yep, all right, yep, that's the thing. Yep, I know that reference. I know that reference. And the Sonic movies do something different. The Sonic movies are not just an adaptation of SA2. They're not just an adaptation. Like the second Sonic movie is like a mishmash of like Sonic 2 and Sonic 3 in a way, but it like works because it's doing something different.
yeah,
It's taking a bunch of elements that shouldn't really work together and like making them work together, and it's not introducing way too much at once. I don't want to ramble obviously for
yeah.
too
And,
long,
and I feel like we're
but
at
like
that point where we either will keep rambling on or someone's
but
going to
like
slip up. It wouldn't be me, it'll be you.
yeah,
That will
exactly.
slip up and say a spoiler, whatever, though. But I think we'll kind of leave it in terms of that, in terms of a general vague sense of how we kind of felt. Mostly it just all came down to the pacing of the movie, though. But I did want to rewind it just a little bit in terms of the theater experience. I always like to kind of talk
Yeah,
about those while we talk about these movie adaptations for video games and such, though. How was your theater experience?
I didn't. I had a couple kids laugh at the jokes. I didn't have too annoying of an audience. And guess what? Like listening to that amazing soundtrack in the theater was very nice. The soundtrack in this movie is incredible. I'll give it that. I can go. I will definitely listen to the soundtrack of this movie one like now that I'm done seeing it. Besides that, though, like my brother actually behaved when I was with him, so I had a good time.
Okay. And you said you saw the movie, obviously, because the movie came out on Wednesday, but you didn't see it on the Wednesday. You saw it on, was it Thursday?
I seen it on Thursday.
Okay, so you saw it on Thursday. It's kind of weird having a movie come out on a Wednesday, but I guess they want to have a really long box office weekend, whatever. I digress.
And they did. Oh, they did.
Yeah. And then at least for me, I didn't get to see because obviously I work Monday through Friday. It's tough when I gotta close down my place, so I didn't get to be able to watch it until Saturday. And I remember placing the tickets almost about a week in advance. I was buying my tickets though. It was me and then my brother, who's only like a few years younger than me. So it's not like younger brother like what yours is though. But we decided I just invited him. I paid for his ticket, whatever though, and then just to go there and watch it. And before I could even walk into the movie theater, they handed me these glasses. I was like, what the heck are these? And it was like the 3D glasses. And I looked down at my ticket on my phone. And I was like, did I just buy a 3D ticket to this movie? I can't even tell you, Steven, when was the last time I saw a movie in 3D? It's probably been to the better part of almost 15 years. Probably the last time I went to go watch it with my grandparents when I was a kid, kind of where it's been that long. I was like, oh my gosh, I done messed up. And
last time I went to go see a 3D movie was Into the Spider-Verse, and they accidentally showed the standard version for the first 20 minutes.
yeah, because I think it's just all they got to do is just something with the double vision, whatever. I don't think it's like a major tweak they have to
Yeah,
do.
so
Yeah.
so someone had to go down there and tell them, hey, you guys messed up.
Oh wow. But yeah, so I was watching the movie that way, and by the time we got sit down and stuff, like I had my popcorn, I had my drink, and all of that stuff. Um, it was like I watched the movie at like Saturday around like 12:30 ish my time, so it was pretty balanced in terms of like older people and kids. It was like almost like every other seat or something like that, you might have had a family. So you had like a family group, then maybe a group of friends, another family group. So there was quite a bit of kids. All the kids acted well. I'll give props to them. There was only like a couple of like little rowdy kids that were like probably like a few seats back towards the right of me. But the moment the movie started, they hushed up outside of funny moments where everybody was gonna laugh or whatever though. So I give props to all them parents that were in the theaters because I didn't want nobody kind of ruining this movie or whatever though while I was sitting there and watching it. So I give props for that.
I think that already kind of proves like this movie wasn't like crazy exciting, I guess.
Probably, but even then, like some of the boring movies, like sometimes the kids will still just cut up. But at least it was entertaining enough, given the woes that this movie might have had or whatever. Though it was still moving at a decent pace to at least keep everybody entertained, for better or for worse. And then in terms of that 3D effect and such like that, never again will I probably ever watch a movie in 3D though. This one it kind of worked all right, but man, there was like a trailer in the lead up to the movie where it was like a Star Wars film or whatever though. That 3D popped off the screen so much it almost gave me some cross-eyed eyeballs or something.
Was it the Mandalorian movie?
Yeah, it was that. That 3D came out so far. I was like, how could anybody train their eyes to watch stuff like this? Whereas all the Illumination trailers right before this movie, it kind of gave me a feeling. I was like, oh, okay, this 3D is going to be tolerable. But it did kind of put a unique flair to it, especially with the galaxy settings and stuff. Like all the galaxy stuff looked pretty beautiful with the 3D. So I'll give it that. I mean, it was just kind of a nice little shakeup or whatever, though. But I probably never would do it again. But it did make it a little bit more interesting.
And it is a very nice looking movie. I want to say stuff. I can't say stuff about like the best looking areas, and the best looking characters. I can't really say anything about. It's a nice looking movie.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, outside of that, I think that's pretty much all of our thoughts. So if we were to give this a letter grade, like how we do with the directs, what would you give it?
B.
Okay.
It might sound harsh, but like it is a very middle of the road movie. I went to go see it, and I'm like, all right. I didn't hate my experience. I've seen so much worse. People giving this a 0 out of 10, grow the fuck up.
No. Those are those people that will come back and say, you know what? By the time the third movie comes out, they'll be like, you know what? The second movie was good. And there's a group of people that are always like that. They always bash it when it first comes out, and then they have a second coming of whatever that piece of entertainment is. And I bet you that's going to be some of them people.
You want to know what I also hate though? Have you seen people online going, "Oh, why did you expect a Mario movie to have a good story?" Have you seen people saying that?
I mean, they aren't necessarily wrong, but also at the same point of the day, it is a movie, and that's the whole point
exactly.
of a movie.
Okay.
So I'm like,
yes, the whole point. You agree with me on this? Good. The whole point of a movie's existence is to tell a story. That is the point of a movie. Like even if it's a comedic story, that is why you are making a movie, to convey that story in a way that people can watch it and hear it and process it. You at that point, like they made a slideshow of all my favorite references with a loosely like text with text just connecting it all together. That's what it feels like. It's a whoa, look, Mario 3 reference, Mario World reference. Guys, look, Galaxy reference in the Galaxy movie. Oh, back to Odyssey references the whole time.
No, yeah. So I think at this
Thank you, Fox
point,
McCloud, for saving it.
Fox
Honestly,
McCloud, man, that dude was a trooper, man. Like, oh shoot, man, Nintendo, give me a 2D animated something, because I know y'all ain't gonna have the balls to do it to make an actual movie based on it. This is the closest we're gonna get.
they will.
But animated something, I'll take what I can get though. But that was pretty cool. All right.
There was an animated short they did for Star Fox Zero. It was like like 2D
I want some
animated,
like legit like full blown 20-minute episodes, like at least a handful of them. That's what I'm talking.
Oh yeah, I love that.
Yeah. All right. So outside of that, I think that's pretty much all of our thoughts on the Mario movie. Oh, my letter grade, I gave it a B minus. That's kind of how I am. So we're kind of both in the same train of thought. I still, and if we were to compare it to the first movie, I still like the first one better than the second one, but the second one did have some nice, interesting tropes. Bowser Jr. was pretty good at his role. I kind of like what he did in the movie, too. I thought he was really great. Some people beg to differ, but I really like the character. I'm a Bowser Jr. fan, so I like him. And then there was one other thing up in there. I can't say it though, but like, oh shoot, with the big bad, Junior's daddy.
With the end of the movie.
That was cool. All right, and that's all I will say. I can't talk anymore. We're gonna spoil the thing though. All righty, so that's gonna do it in terms of that right there. So now we're gonna go ahead and flip on over to the next major part of the show, that being what's in the Marvel news. All right, Steven. All right, so we managed to get some trailers for a couple of different things. And you know what? If you're a vigilante fan, I think we're eating pretty good this year, all things considering, at least with Marvel, because the pace is about to pick up. Because right now, obviously, there's like Daredevil going on. I'm waiting for more episodes to come out so I can just kind of binge the mess. So I don't have my thoughts now. Maybe by next episode, I'll have some thoughts on Daredevil. So spread the Marvel news out a little bit. More to come later on. But at least for Punisher, I didn't think they were going to even do anything with this dude outside of what they were going to show in Daredevil. I didn't think they were going to go any much further than that. So rolling up out of my bed, like how I always do when they drop Marvel news, I always see it in the bed by the time I could roll out of bed in the morning. And I saw that trailer. I was like, dang, I didn't think them to go that far. Like, did you see this trailer, Steven?
The trailer for for Punisher?
Yeah.
I did not see the trailer for Punisher.
Boy,
I think I might have seen I've seen like one or two action shots though. I didn't see the full trailer. I just seen people talking about how they liked it. So like it must have been good, right?
Yeah, no, it's good, and I feel like at least when it comes to these exclusive like one-off things, like it's not multiple episodes, it's a one-off thing. It reminds me of what was it, Werewolf by Night, and I'm trying to remember exactly how long that was. I want to say it was like an hour and a half, but if it was an hour and a half, that's almost like the length of what. No. I don't think it was an hour and a half. I think it was an hour, close to an hour, like a solid hour. That makes more sense. Hour and a half is almost like a movie, and that's a little too much. I think it was almost a solid hour. So that's what we should roughly be expecting with a runtime with Punisher. And obviously he's a vigilante right up there with Daredevil, Spiderman, all three of them are kind of closely associated with each other, all being kind of around that New York area, and also they all have ties to Kingpin as well, though. So it's just kind of cool for them to actually kind of delve up on this thing, because this dude is a little bit more mature. Like he's kind of similar to like a Wolverine in terms of like his raw violence. Like this dude is like popping caps against these dudes' heads. Like it ain't for the faint of heart when you're watching this dude lay down the law. He's anything but the law, all things considered. No, but I'm excited to see exactly what's gonna portray up in here, and I think we had a release date with this one as well. I have to go back and check on my little thing though, but it's not that far. It's not that far away.
Yeah, I know for a fact it's soon, and you know what? Maybe I'll watch it because I feel like this is definitely something where I could just watch it disconnected from anything else. I could just watch it and like know the loose basis of what the Punisher is, and probably still have a good time.
Yeah, no, it
Which is
comes
what
out exactly 1 month from now.
okay. Yeah, and this Daredevil, Spider-Man, which we're about to talk about, all of these movies should have been coming out straight after like Endgame and all that. Even stuff like Thunderbolts and Brave New World, stuff that like directly follows Endgame. Like the fact that we had to go on a whole multiverse tirade and then we finally circled back around to being good.
Hey, they were trying to keep us on the toe, do something different, and it just didn't happen to fall out the right way. You have actor portrayals, stuff that happened to act up, and then
Yeah,
lo and
but
behold, then
like,
you had to go back to your roots. And now we're about to get close to a reset, though. But
thank
yeah,
God. No, genuinely thank God that they went back to their roots because like it looks a lot more interesting what they've been doing.
no,
I
yeah,
haven't watched Daredevil or any of that, but still, I've heard positive things.
you need to, man. That show is so good. Like, oh shoot, I mean, shoot, you hadn't even seen like that Spider-Man animated one with the animated one that's exclusive on Disney
Yeah, but
Plus.
like
Whatever.
I don't.
That
No,
one is really good though too. Like that takes me back to the cartoon days of Spider-Man. It's that good, Steven, and I'm still trying to find a way to get you to watch that mess. I'm gonna have to
I'll
literally get you in
eventually
Discord and just
get to
watch
it.
it. It's like
You
what
can
the
try.
fuck?
You can try.
Okay.
I'll eventually watch it.
All right, but yeah, so I think that's all I got to say for Punisher now. So hopefully in a couple of in a couple episodes or a few at most, I'll have my thoughts on that Punisher little series though. So we got some good stuff coming. Good stuff coming. Now let's go ahead and flip it on over to Spider-Man: Brave New Day because this is one of the only two actual movies that's going to drop out for this year. Obviously, this is going to be dropping out during that summertime, and then you got Avengers: Doomsday that's going to drop out later on in December. And we finally managed to get the first trailer for this one, and whoo boy. I think this is a Spider-Man movie that a lot of people kind of wanted to see for the longest time, and I think it's mostly those people that have been like, oh, I wish Spider-Man was a little bit more independent. Like how we had like those first Spider-Man 3 movies or whatever. You're going to get it in this movie because ain't nobody really knows him. Well, with an asterisk on it. If you kind of know some things, maybe you're kind of putting the some of the pieces together though. But for the most part, like 99% of people ain't going to know who Spider-Man is thanks to, the events that played out in the previous movie though. But yeah, we got to see the Punisher, which hey, we just wrapped up on Punisher. It's cool how he's going to be in this movie as well. And then Daredevil, so he's getting a lot of love. I like it. Obviously you had the whole well, not the Hulk itself though, but more like Bruce Banner. He actually make a debut. That's the word I'm looking for. A debut in this trailer as well. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, Steven. I'm trying to remember was the last one like one. We don't know if he's the sole antagonist or if he's one of the antagonists though. But I think that Scorpion up in this mess though too, right?
Michael Mando as Scorpion. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, what the heck? I don't know why, but I did a double take on Scorpion. I was like, wait, didn't we see him in one of the movies? And then
We seen
I had to
him
go
in the
back, and I was
post
like,
credits for Homecoming.
I guess I started mixing up because there's a lot of Spider-Man media that you can consume, whether it be the cartoons, the video games, any one of these three different series of movies and stuff like that. Like the movies alone, like obviously we had Green Goblin, we had Doc Ock, we had everybody from Venom, the Sandman to Electro to who was the other one, Lizard and such, and then and a few other ones scatter up in there, Mysterio and stuff. So they've been going down the list, but it's kind of surprising how we never had Scorpion just yet. And I guess I was mixing up Scorpion within the PlayStation games and whatnot though. So it's gonna be interesting to see how well he can play that Scorpion role. But everything I've been seeing in this trailer seemed pretty promising to me.
I know you haven't seen it, but like he is really, really fucking good in a show that I've seen in the past. It's called Better Call Saul. It's like a prequel series to a Breaking Bad, which I'm sure you've at least heard of.
Oh yeah, Breaking Bad, yeah.
Yeah, so he plays like a character in that universe, and he is extremely good. as that character. Like he is like puts on like this calm yet like menacing tone that I think would perfectly fit like a character in the Spider-Man universe. And I hope he does a good job. Obviously, he's been obviously teased to play this role for almost 10 years, and he finally can play it.
Now, 10 years is a long time.
Yeah, 10 years is way too long. Either way, though, like I'm glad he's playing the role, and I think he will be good. But at the same time, I gotta be honest, Zart. I'm not as excited as most people for this movie because I feel like everything that they've been showing us in the trailer is hardly gonna be in the movie.
Well, I'm going
Like
back and
I
I just whipped it out on my phone just to kind of go back and just look at some of the scenes that we managed to get so far. I mean, yes, you're gonna have Spider-Man have his little dull moments and such like that. Like he being independent. Obviously, they're always gonna keep showing his friends and stuff who happen to forget about him though. Dang, if I were Spider-Man and stuff, and then saw my girl with some other dude though, even though she doesn't have no recollection of it and stuff like that though, man, I still would have clocked out that dude though. I'm
well,
just saying though, I wouldn't have let that flown.
and we know this obviously because of like rumors and like just from common fucking sense from casting. The biggest character in the movie has yet to be officially revealed, but it is most likely, because this is still speculation, so I'm going to say it, most likely going to be Jean Grey from X-Men.
Hmm.
There's been casting rumors for a while now about Jean Grey from X-Men being in this movie, played by the actor Sadie Sink,
Hmm.
who is like confirmed to be in this movie, and she's confirmed to be playing a character with psychic abilities who's redheaded, and like you know, and in the trailer you see her wearing like yellow.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, she's most likely playing Jean Grey, and this is gonna like be like a lead in into the mutant saga because like I guess Spider Man is technically like a mutant, I guess, or like not a
Not
mutant. I don't know,
not in the sense
not a
that he
mutant
has
per se,
that X
but like
gene. Like he doesn't have that. That's the most common trope between all the other X
he's
Men. Not
yeah
that.
he's well we don't know how mutants will work in the main MCU timeline. Obviously, it's difficult. We don't even know that much about the spider that bit him. It could have like inserted X genes into him or
Oh, and
something.
then
I don't know.
speaking of just the genes in general, I think the major premise of this whole entire movie, as you can kind of see in these trailers, is the fact that when you're looking at Spider-Man, in every one of the previous three ones, at least with Tom Holland Spider-Man, every time he swung out his webs, it was always based on the contraptions he built and stuff. Like the little substance he used to make the spider webbing and stuff like that. You can tell his body's kind of acting up in some kind of way, and I'm thinking he's going back to where the mutation is actually going deeper in his body to where now he doesn't have to rely on that no more. He's gonna be shooting them webs straight out of his body, kind of up, like basically what you had within the
Yeah,
first three original Spider-Mans and stuff. So he's gonna have some complication with his powers. It's kind of gonna bring him a little bit more grounded, even though he's already a pretty grounded hero to begin with, though. Along with dealing all of the craziness that might be popping up with Punisher and Scorpion and all of that stuff, though. So I think there's enough plot points in this movie that will carry itself and pretty much feel like a pretty down to earth Marvel film, all things considering. And I think we're just gonna be in for a good time.
Zard. Before, yeah, but I just want to say like one like final thing about the movie because we're not gonna really be able to gauge much until we get a new trailer. Obviously, there's a ton of stuff in that trailer, like a ton of characters that we didn't even mention. Like Tombstone is apparently gonna be in the movie. We see a boomerang. He's like an obscure villain. We see a bunch of like ninjas and like demon stuff. So Mr. Negative could be in the movie, or just like some kind of like villain that's like
I think three villains
mythical.
at tops is what they can basically. I wouldn't consider
And
Punisher wouldn't be
and
really a villain. He'd be more like a side character. But like three villains at tops, I think is what you can do
yeah,
as a max for a movie.
and there has been stuff in merchandise about like a more like vicious looking Hulk. So maybe something will happen with the Hulk. I feel like bringing Bruce Banner into the movie is a deliberate choice. I don't know why you would bring Bruce Banner into the movie just to have him explain stuff to Spider-Man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So like I'm sure the Hulk will make some kind of appearance. Maybe it'll be like Jean Grey using like mind control or like manipulating him to turning into the Hulk again for like a fight scene. I don't know. I hope the movie is good. I really do, but like I'm skeptical. I'll see it, but like I don't know. We'll see what happens. Um, I'm making a crackpot theory right now. My theory is that we're gonna find out in the movie that Peter Parker has been mutating constantly and like slowly like getting more like organic and like going through a metamorphosis and all that. We're gonna find out that this is happening because he contracted some kind of like while he was in space in the first in Infinity War or Endgame or whatever, while he was in contact with alien materials, something latched on to him unknowingly. And the movie will end with that being revealed to be the symbiote. And
Now,
with
now,
all of yeah, what
no, no.
I
I
think
mean,
that's
it's
a pretty
interesting how you said
reasonable.
that, but do you remember in the post-credit scenes in the third one because they were doing all that weird
For
multiverse stuff?
Venom,
Yeah,
no, nothing's
Venom.
happening with that. Nothing's happening with
they
that. What do
they
you?
did establish that symbiote is in the universe where we're at right now. It's just kind of crawling out there, as you
Yeah,
can
but
say, and that's all they
no,
left it as. I don't know if
nothing's gonna
they'll go
happen.
back to that, or they're gonna go back and retcon it, or just do something entirely new. But Venom will be the next step after this movie. I'm fully confident after that point. But
They are
yeah,
definitely retconning it. Like the Sony cinematic universe has already been confirmed to be a bomb. Like it is confirmed already that it was a bomb. So I don't know Zard, but like it's not that. Whatever it is, it's definitely not that.
hmm.
Like and like I don't know. To be honest, like I hope it's not that. I want like an entirely new Venom because they're gonna do more Spider-Man movies. They're not only doing this one more Spider-Man movie. He's gonna be an important part in Doomsday and Secret Wars. We know that for a fact. He will be in those movies. What was he like the chosen hero of 616 Earth or something? He's like the anchor, not the anchor being of that timeline, but like he is like the quote unquote chosen one in that universe, which I don't know what that means if it doesn't mean like he's gonna get more movies. Like he's gonna be like a character that they're gonna keep around because of that deal. So
Yeah.
yeah, I can totally see the symbiote happening, and maybe the symbiote is what helps him with all of this Secret War stuff. You know,
Yeah. Well,
he's gonna be
oh,
facing off against a
you're
ton of
saying that
shit.
that symbiote thing is going to be a plot point within either Doomsday itself, or you're saying within Secret Wars
Okay,
itself, because it will have to happen in those movies. You won't
okay,
have another
so
Spider-Man movie before that.
I'm going to end the crackpot theory here. Here's what I
You
think.
need
I
to
think
end this
the
mess.
Yes. So what I think is that the end of this movie will reveal to us, the audience, that it is the symbiote that is latched on to him, unknowingly. Like unknowingly to Peter, the symbiote has latched onto
That
him
would be a
and is
crazy
like and
crackpot
is
theory.
slowly bonding with him throughout either this movie or something might happen in this movie and the symbiote bonds to him, but it will be established in this movie that the symbiote is slowly bonding to him, and then Secret Wars will happen. Some kind of event will happen that will trigger the symbiote to finally reveal itself and take action. Maybe it's the presence of another.
That'd be crazy if that's how Venom managed to
Yeah,
pop up in that thing. That'd be
I
wild.
I I could see that because like Spider-Man. I don't think he can deal with all of these fucking multiverse threats alone.
I mean, that's
He's
why
gonna
he's
be
gonna.
tricky.
Well,
Well,
yeah,
no, he's
that
gonna
had
have
to,
some
that,
help, but
and
like,
we're about to go on this big long tangent though. But that is gonna be an
okay,
interesting talking point with trying to get him to incorporate himself with any of the three different Avengers teams that they're gonna have, because none of them has any recollection of him. But a lot of these
yeah,
teams still need to meet each other anyway, so they have to kind of do some like old school Avengers one stuff anyway though. So
yeah,
we'll
and
leave it at that.
especially with Doomsday fast approaching, and that movie already feels like it's gonna be overstuffed. I hope they do it well.
Oh yeah. No, good thing it has a 3 hour plus long runtime.
Oh,
But
and
yeah.
one last thing. Do you think this movie will have a post-credit scene
Oh,
directly leading into Doomsday? I
what?
think it will. I think it will.
I
Like
think
this is the first.
they'll find a way to do it. They'll find a way to do it just to kind of get people hyped for it. Yes,
Yeah, like
or at
even
least
if
how
it's like
Spider-Man himself gets drawn into the mist, even if it's from that angle alone. Then yeah.
yeah, because I feel like the most obvious thing would be like the new Avengers team confronting Spider-Man about needing help,
Oh,
and then
because that
Fantastic
is an
Four
interesting
are already
thing.
with them.
Because I think technically on the original schedule, Doomsday was supposed to come out first, then Spider-Man. Because Doomsday we should have had December of last year. And then this should have been in between, kind of like how Ant-Man was in between. So I don't know, once they figured out that was the case, that they can kind of retcon or figure out where this is going to fit in the timeline kind of ordeal. But yeah.
They probably did rewrites, if I had to make a guess.
Probably.
Because, like, you know, they did a ton of stuff with Doomsday, obviously. They had to rewrite all of Doomsday because of what happened.
All right. But yeah, I think that's going to do it in terms of everything we wanted to talk about within our Marvel segment. So stay tuned until next episode. We'll talk about Daredevil and maybe anything else that might happen to pop up in the meantime, though. But yeah, that's going to do it for basically everything Marvel and everything all encompassing all the pop culture related stuff. So now we're going to jump over to the next segment of the show, that being what we've been playing. Alrighty, Steven. So it's been, golly, a long, now I can't even say 2 weeks. I can't even say 4. It's been a long 5 weeks. And within those past 5 weeks, we've been probably playing a good amount of stuff, though. But just real quickly, since it's probably the hottest bit of news that we have right now, we're going to be talking about this Pokemon Champions that recently dropped out for the Nintendo Switch. Obviously, you can download it as well if you have a Nintendo Switch too, because of backwards compatibility and such, though. And man, oh man, I've been messing around with this game at least a little bit, and then seeing what people have been kind of saying with the online discourse, because like anything, the Pokemon Company, they get slandered by some of its harshest critics or some of its harshest fans, for better or for worse. And I feel like they got something good going. It just kind of has some bumps that they need to kind of iron out. Like quite a few stuff in terms of just the bug related stuff as well, though. Because, like, have you seen some of it, Steven? Say what you want to say about this thing while I'm about to fire up some gameplay on this mess.
So I have heard that, because I haven't played it, okay? I don't really care enough to play it right now. I have heard that Pokemon Champions is quite rough. Okay, I have heard that there are issues, that the amount of Pokemon it has is abysmal right now, which is like kind of an objective thing. It's like wow, like, you know, this is supposed to be like the definitive experience, and you don't have. It's not even about having all the Pokemon, but like this is a Pokemon battle simulator. Like, God, I can just fucking use Pokemon Showdown. I thought the whole point of making this was to make something better than Pokemon Showdown, so people would use your thing. Like, you know, it should be the end all be all. Like, this is, you know, the definitive Pokemon battling experience, so the games can just focus on being fun games confined to them. Like, I thought that was obvious, but no, it's obviously like not their prerogative, because we keep getting stuff like this, and it's made by Pokemon Home Team, so we keep getting stuff like this, which is like broken and bugged and unfinished at launch.
And it's weird with Ilka. It's so weird because it's like they make games like One Piece Odyssey that looks really good, doesn't have really much of any flaws from what I've been hearing from people, and then when it comes to games like Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, kind of Home is all right because it's just a Pokemon box at the end of it. No one's really gonna care about that as long as it just works. But then like you get stuff like this, and then it's like, what the heck is going on? I know one of the bugs I was and I saw one of the bugs was like something with the resolution with the Switch 2, because there's a Switch 2 patch that actually runs the resolution a little bit better. Where it's like, hey, when you originally start off the game dock, it might be at a lower resolution, but if you pull it out and put it back in, it actually will fix it to where it's at the higher resolution that it should be at. I was like,
there was no testing.
Yeah,
there
and
was no testing.
I'm like, how in the world could you not catch that? Because people dock and undock their Switch, their Switch consoles all the time. So how could that not be caught? I don't know.
And the fact that this is 30 FPS, are you fucking kidding me? It is a battle simulator that looks like a mobile game. Tell me otherwise, Zard. It still looks like a mobile game.
I mean, yeah, because it's also going to be built for mobile as well, so it has to be somewhat. Yeah, it has to be somewhat simplistic in mind to where you could do your few taps and stuff like that, and it could still technically work. But right here in front of me, I got all of the different stuff that you're able to do. So obviously, you're able to battle, you're able to recruit, train, shop, and stuff. The gear and drip that I'm wearing right now with my character, gosh, it was abysmal what they had me in originally. Like no hat, had me in like a pink jumpsuit, like almost all pink and like some weird old colors. I was like, no, get this mess off of me. They got this little stuff that's called your currency in the game, where literally you have to go in here in the shop and buy all your stuff. The VP, you have like a premium shop and stuff that you can see right here, and then you have like the frontier shop. And the frontier shop, you have to go through here and buy like all of these items. And obviously, there's only a limited item pool that you can able to pull from that you get from the main series. Where there's a whole lot more that there's a lot more that you can able to get from a Scarlet and Violet right now, but they just don't have it readily available here in Pokemon Champions. They'll slowly keep adding and updating this stuff as the list goes on and on, but you can kind of get a feel like all the stuff that you're able to actually have access to right now. So I mean, it's gonna kind of limit or run your teams a certain kind of way, and every one of these things costs VP points. So you're gonna have to do this a lot of random wild old battles before you get all of the items and all of the move sets and stuff that you want to do to run the teams that you're wanting to do in Champions, though. So the key is probably train up your Pokemon in Scarlet and Violet or whatever games that are compatible with home. Train them up there, teach them the moves, make sure they have the ability. So by the time you come up into here, the only thing you have to worry about is just the stats, because all the stats are something randomized here, and you have to retrain them here anyway. So that's probably what you want to do, though. Megastone wise, they give you quite a bit of different Megastones you're able to buy from the shop. And I know if you do some of the tutorial stuff, you're able to get at least a good amount of Megastones that way as well. And yeah, and this is all like the different gear and stuff that you're able to kind of get up in the shop, though. So it's not necessarily bad in terms of like what you're able to get there. It's gonna take a decent bit of grinding, though, but definitely do your tutorials and such, though. In terms of like the training and such, I hadn't been messing around with it too much, though. But it's kind of interesting how, like, for example, this Crocodile, it's like one that I had from Pokemon Home itself, though. You're able to actually put what would be your EVs and stuff into each one of these attack different stats. Obviously, most people, they run 2 stats high, and then you put your last couple of points into something else. This is just default, me just dropping it straight from home to here. So I can go through here and tweak all of the different stuff. Obviously, you can swap out some moves and stuff by just going over here and hitting Y or whatever, though. And then, moving things around or relearning some different stuff, though. So yeah, so you have a lot of different options up in here. I feel like it's a combination of like what you had within Pokemon Stadium games in the past, like 1 and 2 on the 64, maybe Battle Revolution you had on the Wii. It's a combination of those games and what you had with Pokemon Showdown that you're able to play off of your PC or whatever. Like I think the Pokemon company is just trying to get a nice blend and balance, just trying to make everything readily easy for most people. And while yes, they made some great links and some great strides towards it, it's still kind of in that beta-ish kind of phase where I feel like they had to put it out at least a decent bit of time before like what would be like a Pokemon Worlds or something like that, because they're not running this stuff in like your Generation 9 game, Scarlet and Violet, or what will be Gen 10 in the future. It's all done through this app. So it's going to have to go through its paces and stuff like that in order to kind of keep up and just be ready by the time they do that, though. So I kind of like how they got it all in one app for your die-hardest fans, but it still can take a little bit of work. And then obviously in terms of battle modes, you have like you have your rank, you have your casual, your private battles, online competitions, which that'll be kind of interesting once they start getting some of that up and rolling. And then you can see all your different battle data and stuff like that. And I think the battle data you might be able to check. Let me see here. Well, obviously you can check your own data and stuff like that, and I think you can actually check and see what other people been running against you, though. So there's a lot of stuff. If you love competitive Pokemon battling, this is going to be your go-to thing. But they definitely got some kinks and stuff to work out. I know I rambled quite a bit because at least I got to mess around
Yeah,
with it a
like
little bit.
it does seem interesting. I'll give it that. Like it seems like the actual like competitive side of it is relatively okay, but like I just it's nothing I necessarily care about watching right or not watching care about playing right now, and hopefully they fix it whatever issues there are, because at least for me it's like I don't know, I don't like that it's like this free to play mobile game garbage. Like it's just about like paying. You have to like grind so much to like unlock like mega stones and this and that. In my opinion, all the features should be there from the start, and it's only cosmetics that you should have to pay for. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
I was thinking they were going to do that for sure with cosmetics and stuff, but at least everything is to the point where if you put in the time, you don't have to spend any money, which is good. But like if you're a completionist, you want to have every type of item. You want to have all the mega stones and stuff like that. And then obviously that doesn't even count into the fact of how much VP you might have to spend just to fully train one Pokemon, let alone a team of 6. And then obviously you're not gonna just have like one team that I got like right here in front of me. You're probably gonna have multiple teams, like unless you have like 3 preset teams or whatever though, based on whatever you want to run. And that's just gonna take a lot of time. So I mean, there are those people out there that just play nothing but Pokemon. They're gonna get their full fill in terms of what all this game is gonna be able to offer and such though. But I'll keep my eye up on it though because luckily for me, I do have a living deck, so I can throw any Pokemon that's actually readily available in this thing right now. Like I can run anything I want basically though. But obviously it takes time with anything that you doing up in this app though. So it's not bad, but it's definitely not perfect either, though. So we'll just have to kind of see exactly how this kind of plays out, whether or not people kind of really attach to it and whatnot, though. Man, the fact that this game only runs at 30 FPS, that's the main thing that's kind of getting me right now. I'm like,
Come
come on,
on,
like we got
guys.
to do better than this. Like, come on, y'all.
This and Wind and Waves both running at 30 so far. I'm like, come on.
Now,
I
Wind
thought
and
the whole point
Waves,
of
that's a brand new game, but
but it's
it was
like,
kind of hard to
Jesus.
notice it. And two, I mean, we're still a ways out before that game
No,
comes out.
I know,
But this
but
one right here, I'm like, come on, y'all.
it's
It's
just scaring me because like every game should have a performance option nowadays.
Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, I think that's pretty much it in terms of what I kind of wanted to mention here within Pokemon Champions, though. In terms of any other games that you've been going through and playing, what else have you been playing, Steven, as of late?
I went and I played the original. Well, not the original first. Oh, I played the first Resident Evil game. I played the HD remaster on Steam, and that has like the tank controls and the fixed camera, and all that, like how the classic games are. And I did enjoy it. It is hard and a little annoying to get used to at first, but once you get used to it, it is a fun experience that I might go back and replay like sometime soon.
Okay.
But like either way, uh, I played that. There was a new season of Fortnite. They added like Bugs Bunny and they added like Daffy Duck and this and that. And I don't know if you have this on your topics. I didn't read it twice. Do you have the whole Epic Games layoff situation?
Actually, I did not.
Okay, well I will talk about it quick. Epic Games laid off 1,000 employees. That is about 20% of their staff because they quote unquote couldn't afford it, even though they pay. I don't know if you know this, Zard. They do it. They pay the creators to make these like little Roblox experiences in Fortnite. So they are paying people hundreds of thousands of dollars to make stupid AI slop in Fortnite instead of paying their developers. And they are now laying off tons of developers. You know Jonesy, like the main like default character from Fortnite, like
Oh
the
yeah,
blonde
that
guy.
generic dude.
You know,
Yeah.
they fired the guy that made him, and he's like the main character of Fortnite. They fired the guy that designed their like most iconic character, all because of nonsense. And like this new season came out, and like they for the first time ever, Fortnite has introduced a skin that was like AI generated. You've like it's this AI thing called Tung Sahur. It's like this fucking guy with a bat. Okay? And you don't need to know anything about it besides it is a meme that was generated by AI. And now so Fortnite is now putting AI generated shit in their game now, which is just genuinely disappointing to me.
Oh, and then speaking of that, there was one time I was at work. It was like what a few couple probably a couple of weeks ago, um, where this dude came in and he was like trying to ship off some stuff, and then lo and behold, found out from one of my other employees that hey, He was actually one of the dudes that was actually laid off from Epic Games. I was like, brother, I never thought I would actually see someone in my own community actually get affected by some of the layoffs within the gaming industry. It kind of goes to show how small the world is, because I never thought I actually would see a news topic that we'll even talk about in the pod actually happen to me like in person like that. Like I actually got to see one of those people. So it's kind of interesting how you brought that up though. But I was like, gosh, dang. I was like, as much money as Epic Games makes from Fortnite, mainly their bread and butter, and then anything else that happen to sell up on on their exclusive store that's not as good as Steam, but whatever.
It's not.
It's just crazy how they make all that money, bringing all that revenue, but yet they don't have enough of that revenue to go around to be able to support the people that keep this mess run. I don't know. It just doesn't
I
make any sense to
genuinely,
me.
I genuinely do not get it,
At
Zard.
that point, it's just
Honestly, it
mismanagement.
is.
I don't know.
Yeah, it is. It is mismanagement. It is them spending their money in the worst possible places. They are basically like owned by Disney now, almost, because like they do like all these Disney collabs. Like it has just been nonstop like collabs recently, collab, and they haven't really been actually like focusing on making the game better. And like it's still AI slop when you go into like play like the games. I have fun with like the basic battle royale mode, but like it's the only good mode now. They also sunsetted a bunch of modes. They had like a first person shooter mode. They had a racing mode that they're just sunsetting. They are getting rid of them all because of this. So it is like a cautionary thing. Like the industry is being overrun by slop, and I hope it ends. It just and that's in terms of everything, Zard.
Yeah.
And that's my little rant because like Jesus Christ, I play Fortnite a lot, and when that happens, yes, it annoys me. Okay.
No, yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. Perfect sense. Um, let's see here. Outside of that, was that pretty much all of what you've been mostly playing?
Yeah, mostly a bit of Mario 64 here, a little bit of
The game you can't
FNAF
ever get enough
there.
of.
Yeah, honestly, I fucking love Mario 64. What do you want me to tell you?
I love it too. I
Um,
don't play it, live and breathe it like you and Kyle over there in the calls. Like,
I
oh,
played Starfox 64 for the first time.
ooh, how do you like that? I imagine there might be some more people that actually try to get into Star Fox through the interaction of that movie, though,
Well,
and we'll kind of
here's the
circle
thing.
around to some
So
more stuff later on. But yeah,
I accidentally did the true ending on my first playthrough, and God, the difficulty spike was kind of pissing me off. I gotta be completely honest with you.
hmm.
But like this, because like there's this one boss where he's like constantly teleporting around, and he's got these three end. I don't, you've played the game, right? Have you done the true ending?
I can't remember. It's been so long since I played
Well,
Star Fox
have
64. I
you?
can't remember if I did the true ending or not, but I ran through it like a handful of times.
Yeah. Well, basically, I fought the final boss, and it is hard. Because if you lose all your lives, you go back to the beginning of the game. It's
Yeah.
like a roguelike. It's basically a roguelike in a way. Either way, guess what? For a N64 game, it was super impressive with its presentation and all that. I gotta give it props for that. It was a quite entertaining experience.
Okay. Okay. Not bad. Not bad at all. At least for stuff that I've been going through and playing, I literally got to fire up my Switch to figure out exactly what I've been on the Pokemon kick as of late. Like I've been rotating between Fire Red. I've been playing that a good chunk of time. Scarlet Home because I'm trying to work on my living form decks because I actually have a living dex, but I kind of want to start working on my living form decks and stuff. And it's been a lot of just that. I hadn't really
Oh
been
yeah,
playing much of anything else really. It's been
I
mostly all Pokemon.
I helped you out with that technically, so I was on Violet
Yeah,
briefly.
because like in Fire Red, I'll just fire this up and just kind of show everything I got up here in my little PC box though. But I think I pretty much have almost every Pokemon that I could almost possibly get within and I'm trying to just do a living dex just to see if I can get the full 150 and plus everything that's the Johto Pokemon that you're able to get up in this thing as well. Because I played through Fire Red so many different times that I was like, you know what? I can actually go through here and just, see if I can complete that challenge. Do something I was never able to do as a kid. Because I have my brother that also has Leaf Green right now. and I have another coworker at work at Leaf Green, so I'm trying to persuade them to say, hey, look, do what you got to do. Give me these mons. I'll give you the other ones that you're missing so we can complete these decks, though. But, like, this is everything I got so far. So I have, like, a few holes here and there, though. But it's not terrible in terms of what I got, at least for the 150. The Johto ones is rough because I know I'm not going to be able to get every single Johto one. But, dang, that's quite a bit of Johtos, at least in that box. Like, gosh, dang. And yeah, and it's kind of funny because you actually have access to getting 2 Hoenn Pokemon. I didn't think about why not being Hoenn. I knew Deoxys, but not why not. I was like, bruh. And I did get Suicune. I managed to capture that Joker. So the only legendaries I think I have that's sitting in this game that I hadn't caught yet, I even went and caught Mewtwo, which I know he's kind of partially hidden thanks to the little thing. He's right there. But I even got Mewtwo. So the only legendaries I'm missing right now is just Lugia and Ho-Oh that I had to go out and catch. But everything else is just version exclusives and a few locked out Johtos I won't be able to get a hand in. Hopefully they give us Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald in the future, though. But yeah, that's basically all I got in Fire Red. And then at least in home, I've been grinding away at this living form decks and stuff, though. Man, Steven, I was talking to you in the call a little earlier with the Minior forms and stuff. Like, my goodness, I was trying to capture those things in Scarlet, and I don't know why in the world that Pokemon knows Explosion for some dumb reason, though. But, like, goodness, that made that Joker a little tough to kind of get through and capture and such, though. But in terms of the living form decks, I came a long way. A pretty long way. And some of these Pokemon are going to be pretty annoying with me getting. Like, for example, I can rewind it all the way over here to, like, my... what is that? Yeah, like the Lowland forms. We can start here. Like, I got most of the Lowland, the Galarian, the Hisuian, the Paldean, even the Kanto ones. All these Johto Pokemon with the unknowns, they're sitting in Fire Red. Why did they not link up Fire Red and Leaf Green with Pokemon Home yet? But they did it with Legend ZA. I don't understand it, though. I'm going to have to get 4 Deoxyses for this mess, though. And then you can kind of see the rest of these things, though. Finally, they fixed the Furfroos with ZA. Thank goodness, because that was going to be annoying to do that with Go. These stupid Vivian butterflies. I don't know who came up with this mess to think that we had to incorporate that stuff with Pokemon Go. I had to go on Reddit to talk to some rando people that to get the postcards for them to send me random gifts and do random friend requests and stuff so I can sync it up with my Scarlet, and you can only get one of these per day. So that's pretty annoying. But that pales in comparison to like all of these Galarian, which actually I don't have them sitting in home. They're actually sitting in one of the other. Hold on, let me see if I save and exit. I can actually pull up all the Pokemon I got in Scarlet and Violet with this thing, though. But all of the Alcremie forms, that sucker is a pain and sorcier. I don't know who in the world thought we need, for some oddball reason, need to have 63 different forms of Alcremie based on the way how you twirl your stick around and whether or not you're doing it at day, night, or even at crazy old dusk hours, because that is dumb. And I was like, brother. And I had you helping me out in the Indigo. I had you and my other boy Sonic helping me out just to get enough BP, because I got to do the little item roulette thing in order to be able to get the evolution items to evolve those Pokemon. But I need so many of certain kinds, and a few of those, like the Star Treat, is just super rare to be able to get. I'm like, brother. Yeah, like here they all are. That's one box right there on the right. There's my second box. There's my third. Every one of those little munching little greedy old things that like sweets too much, they all need to be transferred over. I do like how in home they actually show the different sweet styles, so I can actually see it better than versus in Scarlet and Violet, where they just show everybody with just a silly old strawberry on top. But yeah, that's what I've been working on. It's been a pain, but it's been a slow burn. But I had that Pokemon itch for some oddball reason ever since I started Fire Red. It's gonna I might got another 2 or 3 weeks up in me before it goes back on hiatus. It's just kind of how I am with Pokemon. But yeah, that's all I've been working with. Were you about to say something, Steven?
I was just gonna say, like, I wish you good luck on that. Honestly, it seems like it's hell.
It's gonna be crazy because I thought Hoopa Unbound. I thought I didn't have to mess with that. Apparently, I do, because you can place that in home. And I was like, brother, but it takes just as much work to get that as it does to get the AZ Float, which means you got to go back through the rank up system in ZA and do that all over again 15 times. I'm not looking forward to that. So yes, I got some work to do in Scarlet. I got some work to do in ZA. Shoot, I even might have a little bit of work to do in Sword and Shield. Oh, those games do not hold up well. Like, oh shoot, I'm not looking forward to that.
Any more Pokemon stuff? Sorry, it's a lot of Pokemon stuff. I'm trying to keep up with what you're telling me.
No, I think that's it. It's been Fire Red, Scarlet, Home, and a tiny bit of Champions. That's about it. I think that's everything I've been playing. Occasionally, I put a little bit of time into Dragon Quest VII Reimagining here and there when I want to mix things up just a little bit. But that's been mostly it. I need to sit down and try to beat that game. So whenever I finally do, I can finally pick up Dragon Quest. Well, I do have Dragon Quest 1 and 2 I need to beat, though, too. But I wanted to pick up Monster Hunter Stories 3 that came out last month. I had the fun sitting in the eShop ready to buy that game. I really want to play that, but I don't really need to mess around with that until I actually knock off one of these other games off my shelf. But that's pretty much everything I've been going through and playing, at least for the most part, though. All right, so with all of that out of the way, that's everything we've been playing, at least for like the better part of almost like the last month, though. So now let's go ahead and jump on over to some of our news segments, that being what we got planned out for all of these subquests. All right, Steven. So we managed to get a couple of release dates for some of these Nintendo first-party games. And we'll start off with one of the ones that we thought was going to come out a little bit sooner rather than later. And yes, I'm referring to Yoshi and the Mysterious Book. And lo and behold, it was weird. Like, we didn't get a direct, Steven. We didn't get a direct. No big old fanfare thing. No, they just casually kind of dropped out the release date on that Nintendo Today app. Which, have you still been using that app almost every day, roughly, or every other day?
I do check it, and I did get a little surprised when I seen the Rhythm Heaven thing the other day. But like, I usually check it because when I get on break is usually when they put news on there.
Oh, so you know the time and when they like to drop stuff new. So you're just like, I'm just on my phone. I'm just gonna go ahead and just glance at this thing here real quick.
Yes.
Okay. So with them, they actually revealed the release date for this game, and it did happen to coincide with May, which I was pretty confident that, the game would drop in the month of May, though. But in terms of the actual day, which I'm trying to pull this thing back up here real quick here. Dang, I should have probably had it in my show notes here a little earlier on, though. Unless, Steven, you can beat me to it. I'm just scrolling up here on my feed.
For Yoshi, I think it's May 21st. I'm going off of memory for that.
Yeah.
Or May 15th. It's around
May 21st. There it is. Yep, May 21st. So as it stands now, that's roughly about a month and a couple of weeks. And then there we go. That's going to be the release drop for it, though. Obviously, we know it's going to be a Switch 2 exclusive. The file size is about 20.6 gigabytes? 20.6 gigabytes. That's pretty beefy.
But
for
it's probably,
a Yoshi game, though.
If I had to make sense of it, Zard, this game looks like it's 4K, and it looks like it's mostly stylized 2D. So if I had to make a guess, it's probably a lot of big textures to make everything look nice. Because this game looks beautiful, like with art style wise, it is a very pleasing art style. I very much like it.
Yeah, so I mean, it looks pretty nice. Everything looks good and stuff like that. And there was one more big major thing that was associated with this game in particular, but that ties into the major segment that we're going to have in terms of a main mission topic later on in the show. So we'll circle back around to Yoshi, but at least on just the surface, the game's coming out soon. It's coming out in the month of May. They just dropped this out of nowhere and didn't have to do a direct or nothing for the release date for it, though. So, yeah, that just kind of goes to confirm that if you're looking for a general Nintendo Direct, you ain't getting one until summertime. Pack it up. Go on home, chill out for all of April and May, and then come back around June-ish, and then we'll see if Nintendo got something in store for that though. So yeah, that's pretty much all we can say about Yoshi, at least for the time being. Now, Rhythm Heaven Groove had a similar case like Yoshi. Nintendo's like, nah, we're not gonna just end it right there with just that. We have one more for y'all. And they actually dropped and revealed the release date for Rhythm Heaven Groove as well, which you said, Steven, you saw that and it caught you by surprise, right?
Yes.
And I'm thinking with this one, and when I was going back and trying to check the release date on this one was actually scheduled to drop out on July 2nd. And I was like, okay. I was thinking that might have been a little later on in the year, like maybe around fallish is when they would have stuck it up in there. But for them to just say, hey, that's just going to come out in July. And reminder, this is going to be like one of those last couple of Switch only games. Obviously, you can play on Switch too, but like a Switch only game, like if you happen to have a Switch one, you're still going to be able to experience some new games coming out. I mean, yeah, we already know Tomodachi Life is coming out this month. And then obviously you have Rhythm Heaven Groove in like what 3 months later, and then that's it. That's it for like Switch One only games that we know of. So I'm like, okay, that's interesting. And they kind of showed off a little bit of a trailer for this thing. Not too much, but just kind of showcasing off just a few little rhythm stuff though. But Steven, are you gonna get this game when it comes out?
Yeah, I already pre-ordered it.
Oh dang, you weren't shy about it at all. And
Yeah,
and the price for this one,
I
it's
like.
not bad. It's $40.
Listen, I've played like most of the series. I played the Wii one, I played the 3DS one, and I played a little bit of the DS one. I, and that's really most of the series, honestly. Guess what? I like it. Okay, it is a fun series. It's got a charming art style, and it's got some pretty good music. So, like, listen, I'm fine with Nintendo putting out some cheaper, less stuff in it games as long as they're good. As long as it's a quality game, which, listen, I really hope so. I really do hope so, because, like, I don't have much to look forward to right now in terms of Nintendo stuff that is currently announced.
Okay. I never really messed around with a rhythm heaven game before, but with it only being $40, that's not hard for me to swallow. And whereas something like Rhythm Heaven, I like some music. I can deal with it. It's a simple, casual game, just timing your button presses because you literally only have to press like what one button playing this whole entire game for the most part though. Whereas something like with a Tomodachi Life is like, all right, you got to put a little bit more work up in there. Not too much work, but it's like that simulation of life, and I don't really like messing with too many of those kind of games though. But Rhythm Heaven, that might be a little bit more up my alley. So I might dip and pick this one up whenever it comes out, assuming if there's not a lot of other stuff in terms of gaming releases that come around that same window frame, towards the beginning of July. So in the June, early July, if there's not a lot of crazy stuff going on, I might pick this game up. But yeah, it was cool to be able to get a release date for this one though. But once again, no direct, no nothing to kind of give it a lot of fanfare.
Yeah.
So Nintendo switching
Like,
things up, keeping everybody on their
I don't know.
toes.
It's ridiculous because that means we're gonna be going into this next direct basically completely blind, which isn't a terrible thing.
That's not a
If
bad
these,
thing.
which we'll talk about it later, but like it's not even going to be relatively exciting depending on what happens if these things that we've heard are true. Like I am hoping that Nintendo is doing this for a good reason because right now there's just nothing exciting. Pokemon's in 2027, and yes, that is Switch 2 exclusive, and that will sell like fucking crazy. But like, Pokemon can only do you so much. The Switch One succeeded because it had Breath of the Wild to start with, then immediately Splatoon 2 after that, then Mario Odyssey, then you know the announcement of Smash and the build up to Smash, more Wii U ports, more Wii U ports. And the Wii U ports were actually good because you couldn't play them on Switch beforehand. These Switch 2 editions are nothing. Okay? And finally, we're getting some other games. We got Kirby, Mario with Switch 2. Started with Mario Kart, had Bonanza soon after. That's a good start. And then you had basically nothing interesting up until Kirby Air Riders. Hyrule Warriors was a blip on the radar. No one talks about it. Metroid Prime 4 was disappointing as hell. And then there has been, like, basically nothing since then. Pokopia, I guess, Like, and I know Pocopia is doing well, but it's just like, I don't know. It's not like the type of game that I'm interested in. So right now, for me, Rhythm Heaven's the most interesting thing coming out, because as much as I am looking forward to the Yoshi game, here's the thing, Zard, about Yoshi and the Mysterious Book. If it's as dull as Crafted World was, I'm gonna be a little disappointed, because Yoshi's Crafted World is not really that great of a game on Switch.
None of those Yoshi games has been good since Yoshi Island on the
Wrong,
Super Nintendo.
wrong,
Maybe Wally World, I give you
wrong.
that, but that's about it. And
Woolly,
even then,
well,
it's kind of that
well,
thing looked funky.
there you go. Well, guess what? Woolly World is an amazing game. It is a fun game. It is a beautiful game, and it has a decent amount of content.
All I'm saying is, wake
Crap.
me up once we get an art style and some game content that's similar to Yoshi Island and a bopping soundtrack as a final boss,
Wait.
as what we
What are
had
you
on
talking?
Yoshi Island. And then
Well, that.
that's all I'm
Okay, in
saying.
terms of art style, this one is the closest because it's like storybook, which is kind
I
of
don't
what
know.
the original
Something
was.
about this one just doesn't quite, I don't know. It's hard to describe. It's hard
Well,
to
yeah,
describe.
I personally don't agree with that, but like I hope it's good. Either way, at least with Rhythm Heaven, this is the I'm pretty sure the game that has the latest date out of anything. Okay, so
Yeah,
unless
it's the newest.
unless Fire Emblem pulls a fast one and it slips into June and we get a direct about
Oh
it like
dear, no. I don't
soon,
think no. That this
like
almost confirmed that I think it's gonna Fire Emblem will be late July if they wanted to double up in 1 month, or it's gonna be like August or September at this point. I don't think it's gonna be any
yeah,
sooner than that now.
and it's difficult because like that game could even get delayed. Three Houses got delayed. Who knows?
Yeah, hopefully
I don't know,
not.
man.
Hopefully not.
I genuinely just hope that Nintendo follows this up because like Rhythm Heaven is cool, but like it's not enough. Like nothing that they're doing right now is really that exciting. Like Rhythm Heaven's a relatively niche game. It might not even do that well. I'm surprised they're even making it, honestly. I'm surprised they announced it a year in advance. Why? Why do that?
Well, that was because they wanted to keep some Switch people probably engaged in their ecosystem because they knew it was probably like one of the last couple of games that's going to be only available on Switch One for the people that own a Switch One. So it just kind of said, hey, get this, stay invested in our ecosystem, and then we'll find a way to transition you to the Switch 2. That's probably the only reason why they would announce that game that far out in advance, though, because otherwise they're going to just, unless they knew something funky with their directs was going to happen like this, because think about it, I can't remember when it was exactly revealed. Wasn't it back in like, yeah, it was almost a whole year ago, like around April ish, when they first revealed that Rhythm Heaven Groove was going to be a thing. But unless they were going to show it at that fall direct, we had not had a general direct since fall, and it might not be until June. They want this game to come out in July. They might have internally known, yeah, we're kind of limited on when we want to kind of reveal this thing, and maybe that's the reason why they announced it a whole year late early. I mean, they could have saved us a little bit and did it in the fall direct though, but now it's kind of making sense a little bit looking back at it retrospectively. But I don't know, it's kind of weird. But hey, finally got a release date for this. That's pretty good for the fans out there, though. All right,
Yeah,
so
no, and I'm excited just because it's Rhythm Heaven.
yeah, so good stuff is coming. Good stuff is coming. All right, so that was it in terms of quick announcements. We also managed to get the reveal for what Xbox Showcase and when it's going to be happening. They're always the quickest ones out there. They always say, hey, when we're going to be able to throw something out there and when you can actually expect it. All those, showcases that normally happen in the month of June around the old E3, but now they're like lumping it together as like a summer game fest thing or whatever, though. I always like this term to coin the old E3 schedule, though. But yeah, it's going to be coming out on Sunday, June the 7th at like 10 a.m. Pacific time. And if you're interested, you have like a Gears of War E-Day Direct immediately following that presentation. Now, what kind of games you can actually get revealed in this little showcase, though, we'll save all of those predictions way later. Like we're still like a couple of months early. We won't be probably until like what the last month of May, Steven, when we actually spend time and actually try to predict, or predict or throw out our predictions essentially for any one of what will be an Xbox, a PlayStation, and what could have been a Nintendo Direct for the whole month of June, though. So we're still a ways out before we throw any predictions out there on the wall, though. But hopefully something good comes out of there. The only thing I can say is please give me
Um,
some Persona. If Persona is the only way that's gonna be revealed up in this Xbox showcase thing, I'm just trying to summon this mess right now. Like, come on, like come on,
listen,
Atlas. Like, come on, Atlas. This has been way too much for them. Like, dang, I'm struggling over here, Atlas. I'm struggling. I need to eat. I need to eat. Okay.
bold of you to assume that there will even be games. Like I don't. What is Xbox doing
Notice how
nowadays?
I said Atlas and Persona. I don't even know outside of first party where instead of outside of Gears of War E Day, I don't know anything else first party that Xbox could actually put out. Because after they cancel my old sucker Perfect Dark, I'm like, nah, man, like forget y'all. But that's all I
Yeah.
got to say. Unless you were gonna say something else.
No, I don't think I have anything else.
All right, but yeah, so at least they're the first one to come up the bat and say, hey, keep your eyes tuned, keep your peepers peeped. June 7th is the day to mark
Hmm.
on your calendars, for better or for worse. We'll see what they actually have in store when that day comes a little closer. All right, and then lastly, out of all of the different subquest quick topics that we have up on here, um, Nintendo Switch 2 managed to get a somewhat significant update in terms of like those number updates that they normally occasionally get from time to time. This one was a pretty substantial one if you have a Switch 2, because for the longest time when you've been playing a Switch 1 game on a Switch 2, it's still been kind of running at the same kind of, resolution, sometimes frame rates, but mostly resolution with this. As you will play it on a Switch 1, it's just now on a Switch 2, especially when you're playing that mess in handheld mode, even though you got a lot more power in the Switch 2. Well, things have changed because now you can go into the settings after you updated your system and you can actually tell it to do a handheld boost on it to where now all those Switch 1 games that you would normally play handheld get the same resolution bump up to like 1080p in some cases, depending on the games. Your miles may vary. When you would normally dock a Switch 1. So now you're getting that docked experience of a Switch 1 game in portable mode on a Switch 2. And you know what? A lot of games that are like that for Switch One drastically needed that because I'm thinking of a few games off the top of my head. A key one, and I know you're probably thinking about it too, Steven. Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Like, oh shoot, that mess needed that mess. Cause I was like, I remember playing Xenoblade Chronicles 2 in handheld mode, and I was like, brother, it was kind of rough. I was like, I really need to sit down and play this in dock. Now it's like, okay, you can get that same experience dock now in handheld mode. I still wanted the definitive edition, kind of like what they did with Xenoblade Chronicles 1, though. But that's just one of the games I'm just thinking of. There's probably a lot of different other games that you can kind of think about. Some games that might have ran at 720p, maybe a little bit lower, depending on what it is, where this handheld boost can actually take it a whole extra step further, and you can get a lot more enjoyment out of a lot of those Switch 1 games and get it at the same resolution at that 1080p that you normally will get it in dock mode. Have you messed around with this feature a little bit, Steven?
Yeah, I have, and like I don't know. Personally, I don't realize that big of a difference, and I know it like eats the battery life. But like I know for a fact Xenoblade, yeah, Xenoblade like looks pretty good. And there are some games that like had weirdly bad performance on uh handheld. But not every game is compatible weirdly enough.
Yeah, you can leave the mode on for pretty much everything, and then obviously some will take advantage of this, some will not. But I mean, ideally, it should make all the games run a little bit better in handheld mode for all your Switch One games across the board
Yeah,
for the most
like
part. Some is
games that had
noticeable,
well
some not
okay.
as noticeable.
Games that had like frame rates that were locked in docked are gonna be better. Like for example, if a game was locked to the 30 in handheld, but in docked it ran at 60, you can like boost that. It's gonna be, but the weird part is that it's only like not every game is supported. I know for a fact one that people tested was like Pokemon Sword and Shield.
They actually pulled out Sword and Shield, tried to boost that.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sorry. I'm thinking Scarlet and Violet when you said Sword and
yeah.
Shield. My bad. Never mind.
Sword and Shield boosted looks a little bit better. Thousand Year Door remake looks sharper, obviously. Which I like that. I like myself some Thousand Year Door remake. Pokemon Legends Arceus obviously looks a little bit more defined. I don't know, like, obviously, it doesn't really help all that much. Xenoblade is the big example, because those games would go as low as, like, 360p, I think. Those games could go pretty goddamn low. So it looks a lot better, honestly, once you put on the handheld boost. I I'd have to like I'd have to look forever and ever to find like every good example, obviously, but just there was a lot of terrible like Switch first part like third party ports. So like a game like like those Batman Arkham games were like pretty shitty ports, but they look a little bit better with the handheld boost. Stuff like that.
Yeah. So I think overall it's a nice feature to have because I know some people they only play their Switch 2s in handheld form. So for them to be able to get that dock like experience for a lot of their Switch 1 games now on their Switch 2, a lot of people are gonna, they're gonna relish in that. They're gonna be like, oh, thank goodness. So they're gonna get a lot of bang out of their butt for that. Whereas obviously with the Switch 2 games, a little different story. I mean, you ain't gonna get 4K visuals on that thing though, but you still get your 120 for some of the games, at least frame rate wise, with that mess though. But we'll leave it at that though. But it's just a nice, good. That was probably a pretty good meaty update that we had up in this thing, in quite some time. So
Yeah.
I tip my hat off on Nintendo. I wasn't thinking we were ever gonna get something like that, but now looking back at it, yeah, it just makes perfect sense. That should have been a thing. But that's really cool, really cool. All right. Well, that's going to do it in terms of all of our sub quests that we had up for the night. Now we're going to jump into the main meat and potatoes. So now we're going to jump on over into our main missions. Alrighty, so now we got to talk about the PlayStation 5. Man, oh man. Golly. I have to take a moment to breathe at this point because remember when Xbox decided to increase their cost of their consoles and stuff when it went from like 500 ish, where it originally started with this console generation back in 2020 during the COVID era, and now it's sitting where if you want an Xbox Series X that's like physical with the disc drive and all of that, now it's sitting at 650. I guess it's PlayStation's turn because they went from 500 to 550 way back when. Now they went from 550 for just a base PS5 with the disc drive up towards now up to $650. And if you want that PS5 Pro that doesn't even come with a disc drive, that mess moved from $750 all the way up to $900. At that point, gosh dang, you could probably invest in the PC, and I know a lot of people are going to be making that argument and stuff like that though. But like, my goodness, like what in the world has been happening with consoles? I remember back in my day, you bought a console in 1 year, give it 2 or 3 years, that mess gone down. Like I know everybody and their mama's been using, or if you've been on Twitter, you've probably seen these posts where it's like that one aisle on Walmart where it's like you will look at a Nintendo GameCube and it's saying, hey, you could buy this sucker for like $99, and that shelf is full. Had we could been able to rewind the clock back to that time, we probably would have been all picking up a bunch of those GameCubes though. But man, that's crazy to see the cost of the PS5 go up that much in that amount of time, man. I'm like, brother, oh man, we can't even catch a
Yeah.
break, man. But how did that
Listen,
make you feel? Like,
Sony is a bunch of fucking idiots. I don't understand this. I don't understand this decision at all. Because first of all, it's not working, okay? Because right now I'm looking on eBay, and even on eBay, I am seeing like an average around $400, okay? And even then, like I found this one, for example, and like most of these are pre-owned obviously, but like, depending on who you're shopping for, pre-owned is just good enough. Where pre-owned Spider-Man 2 Special Edition PS5, where it comes with like a couple games, and it's the disc edition for $600, mind you. And like with the PS5 with the disc drive is 650, I think it was. Like I'm seeing, PS5. I'll search new. I will search brand new PS5 on eBay right now because I am so curious. Okay, brand new PS5 on eBay. I'm seeing, uh, 549 for the digital edition. Which I think is still cheaper because you could buy the disc drive separately. I'm seeing, $500, digital edition, new in box. 435 for a PS5 Pro, which doesn't feel real, but whatever. I'm gonna move on. Like, there's just so many that like I can find on here, Zard. I can get it for cheap anywhere else. I don't understand this because they had an edge against Xbox. Xbox raised their prices, and then Sony, raises their prices too. And I'm like, who is doing this? Who like don't consoles go down after a while? They should go down, okay? Because right now, a PS4. I looked at this the other day because I was curious. A PS4 console is like 140 on average.
Yeah,
Like
and I think a
it's
lot
like
a lot of the issue is obviously coming down to what these AI markets are doing in terms of all of these different data centers and stuff that's requiring all these chipsets and such, especially when it comes to memory and such. In which case, a lot of different of your techs, whether it be your PCs, your consoles, your TVs, whatever you want to mention, they all use some of these same components. In terms of like a lot of stuff that goes into the builds of all of these different chipsets and such, to where everybody's competing for this thing, and pretty much out of everything, gaming consoles is going to probably be on the lowest of the low on that totem pole in terms of importance and how much some of these companies are going to be willing to pay out top dollar to get all of this stuff done and built. And it's just because of that. That's just the main reason why we've seen these prices going up, 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 and up. At first, I remember way back when it was all tariffs and stuff, and that just kind of varied a little bit depending on what country you're in, though. But that's long since gone. That's way out the window now. Now it's all down to this AI stuff, and I don't think this AI stuff is gonna bust in terms of that bubble anytime soon. But it's just really dumb to be able to see all of this stuff go up so high to where now it's like if you look at, and because I don't think this is going to be an issue that's going to be fixed, Steven, within the next 2 to 3 years. It's probably going to take more like 4 to 5 at most before then you might be able to see the stuff kind of coming back down to reason, though. But by then, a PS6 might be already out on the marketplace at that point. I know there's been some rumors going around that there might be a PS5 handheld, a PS5 actual console, or something like that. Maybe something else on the side, though. But that's just been kind of what's been kicked around in the streets, though. But if you want a capable PS6 that's able to do everything that a PS5 basically would be doing right now, if you were to just say, hey, advance one generation forward in the future, if the PS5 Pro is $900 right now, ain't no way you can expect anything to be like something cheaper than like I'm gonna throw out $700. There ain't gonna be no way that thing is gonna be any cheaper for a
you know
PS6
what?
lower than $700
No,
bucks.
PS6 will be $1,000. It will.
And
I
and that'd be
genuinely,
crazy
I'm
because we're
at that
already
point.
expecting that with Xbox, considering that it's a not a handle. It's considering to be a hybrid between a console and a PC, so that kind of made sense. And it was already going to be a dumb question to be able to put in front of consumers, like, hey, pay for $1,000 console, but it's obviously going to be able to play PC games too. But then if you're going to
Yeah.
say the same thing's going to happen with the PS6, at that point it will almost be a slight disadvantage if they put it out for $1,000 because the Xbox console will actually be able to do more than that PS6 at that point, considering it's also a PC at that point. But I'll leave it at that, though. But it's just crazy how much we're ballooning these prices up. Like this is getting unreasonable. Like, oh shoot.
Listen, I'm just so disappointed in the industry because I know for a fact, yeah, PS6 is gonna be 1,000, and that's not gonna have the disc drive. I guarantee that we're gonna get to this point where the disc drive is just gonna be not even an option. PS6, well, we've announced only a digital version. Disc drive coming at a later date. That's what they're gonna say. and it's gonna erupt, and people will buy it. Everyone will fucking buy it anyways, okay? And it will have the exact same stock issues as the PS5 because they're not gonna be able to make enough, and all this AI bubble stuff. And by the way, I totally see these next consoles including AI. You know what I mean, Zard?
Oh no, the Xbox is already confirmed to do it,
Yeah,
and the
which is
PS6
ridiculous.
probably
Like
maybe.
there will be some kind of like Gemini equivalent or like Chat GPT equivalent built into the system, which is just gonna be terrible. You could just ask it, "Oh, I need help with this game, please." Like, and it's just not gaming. Gaming has gotten way too big. Honestly, it has gotten way too big
It's
to
gonna
where
go
it
back to a
has.
niche marketplace. We're gonna rewind the clock back to the
Well,
early Super
because
Nintendo.
I feel like the general audience will just get sick of it. It's going to be way too expensive. It's going to become way too much of a luxury. So the people that are dedicated and do put in the time and the money will reclaim it. Because I'm just getting sick and fucking tired of the AI bubble constantly getting bigger and bigger and bigger and showing no signs of popping yet.
Yeah, I know. I'm
It's
pretty sick
because
of
it's
it at
causing
this
all
point.
this.
Yeah, because a lot of stuff is going up in these prices, and at some point, a lot of these consumers, especially if you're just a filthy casual, for lack of better term, uh, everybody's gonna draw a line in the sand at some point. And I feel like for some people, they're gonna slowly start to recognize. Yeah, I'm starting to get them priced out here. Like I even knew a couple of friends where it's like, hey, I can't afford to get the Switch 2 right now or what, and that's the Switch 2 that's like 500, which is the cheapest one on the marketplace in comparison to the competition now. And it's like if you're already thinking about that with stuff like that now, just wait a few years until when you get the next generation Xbox or PlayStation, and then that's completely off the table. And if you're not interested in Nintendo, then it's like, well, I mean, you ain't got nothing to really play upon. So I don't know. I feel like a good testing point for all of this stuff is whenever GTA 6 comes out and see, because obviously that should have moved a whole bunch of units, but if it doesn't move nearly as much as what we're kind of thinking now, I don't know. That's going to be a pretty good gauge to see whether or not some of these people that
But
probably don't have consoles that will only kind of come in here just to only play a game like that to see whether or not that actually gets to move the needle quite a bit.
I still think GTA 6 is going to get delayed again. Maybe that's why Nintendo's not announcing anything because they're waiting for GTA 6 to move.
It could be, but then again, I feel like that's a whole different marketplace in terms of like if you were to throw out
No,
if it were a Mario game, and if you had a GTA game that one came out on one week, one came
okay.
out on the other week. Yes, you're gonna have some small overlap, but like for example, your kids, if you're doing some good parenting, shouldn't allow you to play some GTA games or something like that. Like that's almost like two
But
different marketplaces.
that's not how
Whereas
that works.
whereas something like with a third party game, depending on what it is, okay,
So,
yeah, it might be in your best interest not to
no,
do that.
I
Nintendo's
have
probably the only one that could get away with that, but anybody else
I
probably no.
listen. I have firsthand experience. If a kid complains and whines and wants to do something, they will find a way to do it. The
And
parent
and
will
that's
either
and
give
that
up.
and that's bad parenting. I'm not
Yo,
gonna
guess
have a
what?
whole tangent
Guess
on
what,
that mess
Zard?
though. But like,
A
look, if
lot of
you're
a
if
lot
you're
of
younger than the age of 10, you shouldn't be playing no GTA game. I'm sorry though. I mean, yes, we
well,
were raised a
I'm
little bit differently
I
though,
know.
but like we
I'm
didn't
just
know
telling you
better.
right now. I'm just telling you right now. Bad parenting has become the standard, and it's sad, but that's how it is. Back to what I was gonna say though. Uh, GTA 6 will most likely come out on Switch 2 anyways, so I'm sure Nintendo sees it as a competitor, even if it's not day and date. Like Nintendo, it's gonna be the biggest game of the year. If it actually comes out this year, that will be the only game people are talking about during that month. Like it will be a bomb that will blow up and destroy the conversation behind anything else. Remember when Hollow Knight Silk Song got that release date and every other game moved? Like they
Yeah.
moved a bunch of games delayed themselves because they didn't want to be in the wake of Silk Song. This is gonna be that, but like 10 times. Because GTA is not only just for core gamers; it's for that beta fucking casual audience as well. The casual audience that only plays like Call of Duty and this and that, they'll be picking this up too because they just like seeing graphics and like realism. I guess I don't know. I'm sick and tired of talking about PlayStation. Fucking move on from this. you know they're raising their prices. Whoop de doo. Yeah, less units being shipped out to less people. I wonder how great they're doing because of this.
Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, that's all we'll say on the increase of the PlayStation hardware stuff. Everything just got marked up across the board. Yeah, if you're in the market for a PlayStation, you should have done it sooner because now I don't think you can get one for fairly cheap now. At least not in this economy. Whatever. All right, so that's going to do it in terms of that. Let's flip it over to our next segment because we're going to rewind back to the Yoshi stuff because apparently Switch 2 game pricing is getting a major shakeup. And this is pretty big because prior to this, we just got that term thrown out there from the moment that the Switch 2 dropped back in June of last year. Hey, we're going to be experiencing some variable pricing across the board. And they weren't wrong about that because we've seen everything as high as $80 games down to basically what would have been like almost like the standard ish 60s starting with this now. Because
Well,
while yes, you might have games like Mario Kart World that sold for 80, and you had games like Donkey Kong Bonanza selling for 70. Now Nintendo's switching it up a little bit more because now, if it's a Nintendo first party game, that's all. That obviously means it's a first party published game. If the standard price for that game would have been $70 as an MSRP that you would have walked into your Best Buy, your GameStop, your Walmart, your Target, whatever though. If it was $70 on the shelf, Nintendo will cut you a bone and sell it for about $10 cheaper and sell it for 60. So starting with Yoshi and the Mysterious Book, that's the first one on the docket though. So if a game happens to cost normally 70 on the retailer spot, you can buy it for 60, $10 less on the eShop. Now, it was kind of weird because when this first broke out, a lot of people were thinking, wait, is this Nintendo's kind of way of just saying, hey, we're kind of inflating prices? No, not necessarily the case. If anything, they're cutting you a deal because technically, when you buying the game digitally, it's not like you're having to worry about the manufacturing of it putting on a cartridge, which the cartridges we know are kind of fairly expensive. It's not like you have to burn that gas, put that thing, print it up on the plastic to put it up in there, and then let the retailer take a cut of it. So it kind of makes sense why the game would be naturally a little bit cheaper, just a digital alternative versus a physical one. All right, what do you guys say,
and
Steven?
I think that's a stupid argument because if anything, digital games are more convenient than physical. You can load them up at any time. You don't gotta take it out of the cartridge and put it into the system. You just always have it, and you could very easily transfer it, and you can't really lose it easily. So I think digital games being cheaper than physical is still a scam. I think they're not doing this to cut us a deal, Zard. Okay? They're doing this because they should have never even increased it to 70 anyways. These games were not Yoshi and the Mysterious Book is not a game that is worth $70, okay? They only increased their games up to 70 because the cartridges are more expensive. And they justified that all around. They're not cutting you a deal. All they're doing is like pushing the all digital. They want to push the all digital. They want to get everyone on digital because then once everyone's on digital, they can make the prices whatever they want. And then what are you gonna do? Go get a physical game? No, doesn't exist. Once everyone's on digital, they can just do whatever they want.
And I know you're kind of saying the quiet part out loud. Yes, I know the agenda of what all the big three. They all want us to basically be on all digital.
But
And
this is
like
a
within
huge
like
step.
a, I know within like a console generation, maybe two at most, it'll certainly be there for Xbox and PlayStation at that point. Nintendo, they might got at least two, maybe three more up in them though, but they're getting more people on this digital train because a lot of people, at least within the Nintendo ecosystem, they're more likely to buy physical than versus PlayStation or Xbox at this point. Just given the
Well,
way how a lot of that stuff kind of functions though. But obviously we've seen the weird stuff with the game key cards as well. So I know that kind of rubbed off some people like that. And it already has like people like me, Steven, where I'm like, hey, if it's a third party game and it's a game key card, a lot of my third parties for the Switch 2 so far have been mostly all digital. The only things I've been buying physical has been mostly first party games. I'm still willing to buy that physically like that. But a lot of these other
well,
ones, I'm already kind of transitioned to digital for some stuff.
here's the thing, though. At least in my opinion, like regarding this. whole fiasco, like Nintendo can say whatever they want, but like at the end of the day, they've already been doing this. Like game key cards are a perfect example of them doing this. Like which we don't even know what's happening with game key cards. Are game key cards going to be charged that extra fee? They literally have no data on the cartridge.
No, game key cards, we don't have to typically. Well, outside of the one
Will they be
exception that.
cheaper?
Well, outside of the one, well, we do know that they were working on a cheaper cartridge or one that was like a lower capacity one that mostly the third parties would be using. We don't know exactly. Third parties are up to the luxury of pricing their games however, whichever way they want. Whereas we just know how Nintendo's going to handle it with their first party published games, though. But I mean, the key cards, I mean, they're here to stay. It's not like they're going anywhere or anything like that.
Well, that's just what I'm saying. Like the key cards, like Nintendo's making their digital games quote unquote cheaper, but no, the game key cards also exist, and they would have announced this. They did not say a single thing about game key cards getting cheaper. So it's like no, they see game key cards as physical releases in their mind. All like basically they just it's not that they're cutting us a deal. If anything, it just is them and kind of in a roundabout way announcing that they're increasing the price of physical games. Yep, these games Mario Kart World was never worth $80, Zard. It was a $70 game that they upcharged the $80, and then they were like, fine, we'll do the bundle and we'll get people to buy Mario Kart. We will FOMO people into buying it through the bundle. Even games like Donkey Kong Bonanza, Nintendo only made their games 70 because everyone else was doing it, and it proved to Nintendo, okay, if everyone else is doing it, we can do it, and it should be fine too.
Which
Which
for a lot of people, they're accepting of that. Whatever though, as long as they can manage to get that game like fully physical for some games, then yes, that makes sense though. But obviously for some other games, some people ain't gonna be feeling all right. Like for example, what was it? Cyberpunk 2077. That was
yeah,
physical, came out on the cartridge. Even though yes, that was a slightly older game in comparison to the competition, but the fact you can play the game portably and it's still on the true physical, people were willing to pay that
I
out the
I
gate
got
at the
that.
launch, and
Yeah,
you were somebody that were like that.
and I respect that. I respect putting the whole game on there, and like it works. I plug in the cartridge, it just fucking works. All right. Why is Pocopia a game key card? It's not even that big. I think it's like 6 GB. It's
Yeah,
like I
I
don't.
feel like that was
It's
Pokemon Company putting their little spin on it. It's like, yeah, I know Nintendo, y'all like to put every first
but
party game physically though, but we're trying to save as much money on this as possible. Maybe they didn't
are Wind
expect
and
the
Waves
game.
gonna be key cards?
Now, hopefully, no, but
But
that
that's what
would
I'm
be
saying.
a conversation. Woo, man, I don't even want to know how people are gonna react online if that were the case. That's gonna be a day right there. If they
Well, that's
confirm
what I'm
that.
telling you. This is fucking ridiculous. Even setting this precedent, especially for a handheld console. I should be able to go to the store and buy a game and then just work. Like I shouldn't have you shouldn't have to go fucking download the entire game. At that point, like it's like at that point, and then this is what they want people to think. At this point, if I have to download the entire game when I get a game key card, why not just get digital? They're just trying to push people to getting digital instead of getting these game key cards, and they're slowly only making the game key cards a thing. Like even Switch One, at least Switch One, like that you had those download only games, but even those weren't really all that common. Nintendo needs to find a way to make these Switch 2 cartridges cheaper, because there's no way they should be that much more expensive. And if they are that much more expensive, then what's the point? Like
Well,
I don't
and,
know.
and and this is the last thing I'll kind of say with relation with the game key cards that you kind of pointed out just a second ago. If that were to happen with Winds and Wave, they would kind of have their foot in their mouth. The reason why for this would be they already confirmed any first party published game by Nintendo will have to be a little bit cheaper than the retail price. If they were to
That's
say, if they listen to everything, if
yeah.
they were to put out a game key card on the shelf of Winds and Waves, and that game were to be $70, then that would have been $70 as a game key card, which was still at the end of the day a digital game. And you mean to tell me on the eShop you're going to sell that for 60? Basically, at the end of the day, both games are still technically digital games, but you're going to have a $10 difference between either one saying, hey, I got to have this cartridge to pull up the data versus, oh, this is just a true digital, play it on your tethered account. That would be really weird and really confusing for them to explain. So reasons like that is what makes me think, yeah, no, Winds Wave, that's still going to be a true physical. I don't see them pulling like the
I
mess that they're going to do, like, for example, with POPCULTURE.
I really hope so, Zard. I really, really hope so. Because right now, it's like the fact that this doesn't retroactively apply to any other games before this is bullshit. Like, really? Like, the least you can do is update your previous games, you know? Because especially they're just proving the point that these cartridges are way too expensive and overbloated. Why are you putting Donkey Kong Bonanza on a 64 gigabyte cartridge? Did Nintendo not think of it, or did they not care?
No,
That's the main thing.
and the only other thing,
I don't think they cared.
and I think the last thing I'll say about this is the technology that's in those cartridges. There's no way of beating around the bush. Even if they were to make the chipset smaller, when you're producing this many of them, I think that's very minimal cost savings on there. So even when they're doing some of the stuff for like the smaller the smaller cartridges that are already kind of trying to be in the works right now instead of a 64 gigabyte one. I mean, yeah, you'll be able to save a little bit, but in the grand scheme of the things, it's not a whole lot. So at the end of the day, they're still going to spend quite a bit out of their pocket for them to still put this thing out on there because that technology on that cartridge has to be quick enough and fast enough that's comparable to a game that's running on the SSD, which what we've been experiencing a lot within a lot of Xbox games and a lot of PlayStation games. It's the technology that's up in there to be able to keep up with it because it's different from the technology that we had within just standard Switch 1 games that are operating off of a standard hard drive that's on the Nintendo Switch 1. That's the reason why that stuff costs so much and the reason why they're trying to like circumvent some of the costs upon this thing. A lot of it just got pushed off on us. $70 at the end of the day is not necessarily bad considering how most of the competition is already 70. But you know, by the time they did it to an increase of like $80 with everybody else or with Mario Kart World, then yeah, I mean yeah, at that point we're really gonna be reeling in from it though. But I don't know. That's kind of how that's kind of where my head is at in terms of the game key cards, the pricing, why Nintendo is doing what they're doing. It makes sense. It might not be an easy pill to swallow, but it makes sense from the business side. It just the pill just kind of tastes sour by the time it enter ends your mouth. Oh shoot, I'm talking way too much.
Yeah, no. Well, you usually do that. You usually go on like really long tirades.
You're the one
Either
talking over here, but whatever.
oh, whatever. Okay, yeah, whatever. As I was gonna say, like I'm not falling for this bullshit, especially because they will definitely probably be announcing a price increase for the console.
Oh, that's
Like
coming soon. I don't know when,
it
but it's
is,
coming.
and but that's what I'm saying. The fact that they're announcing a price increase, and then they're also doing this. I guess they want to quote unquote lessen the blow. But like it's just gonna push the old digital nonsense. And that's not even and the old digital nonsense isn't even a good idea because then, people are gonna have to buy an SD card anyways.
Oh,
So
those
you're not even
SD
fucking
Express
saving
cards.
money.
I mean, you
You're not
will.
no,
Well,
they're
I mean, yeah, it's gonna take you buying quite a bit of games, but eventually you will. But I mean, yeah,
and
not for the first
eventually
few games you
you'll have
got.
to
Yeah,
and then you'll have to upgrade your SD card storage if you buy a decent amount of games.
that's
You're
why I
only
went ahead and
saving
just got that
you're only
terabyte because I
saving
already
ten
kind of saw
dollars
this
per
issue
game.
with the game key cards. I was like, man, you better because
Well,
obviously I
that's what
still
I'm
need to
fucking
hold enough
saying.
for the Switch One games, let alone the Switch Two games. But yeah.
Yeah, it's just fucking nonsense, honestly. And like, I don't even think they're gonna hold up this rule. Like, what is Fire Emblem? If you go on the eShop, is it gonna be 60?
Yeah, it
Like,
should be 60 if
I
they're
guess
gonna
it
sell the
should.
retail for 70.
I guess
Which
it
that's
should
one of
be
those few
60.
games I'll be
But
like, you
like,
know what? I'll buy the game at 70 because I really love Fire Emblem and I have
but
every single
I
physical
know,
Fire Emblem game. I'm one of those
fair
few
enough.
people, but not everybody's gonna
It's
be me.
But this is just gonna allow Nintendo to even overcharge more. Because guess what? A game that would have usually been 60, they can now charge 70 for at retail, and then just make the digital 60. You know what I mean? Let's just say a game was gonna be 60, and then on the eShop it would have been 50. Nintendo's probably just gonna make it
Well, in
70.
a
I
perfect
don't know.
world, I don't think any game that would have been Nintendo released, like basically, let's bring up some examples, like ones that are high up there, but not necessarily super high. They'll get the $80 price tier. So I'm thinking like a 2D Zelda, a 2D Mario,
Smash.
not Smash. Smash is a higher tier. I wouldn't put it in that category.
Okay,
But a
fine.
2D Mario,
Fine.
for quick
Uh,
example, a 2D Mario or a 2D Zelda like a Link's Awakening, I think
I
those were
I'd say a
always going to
3D
be.
Mario.
No, 3D
Three
3D Mario is a higher tier. I'm saying that's going to be a
No,
higher
I
tier too.
it is a higher
Cause
tier in terms of legacy, but like the 3D Mario's are commonly like holiday titles.
no, no,
So
no,
having
but I'm saying games that would have been originally priced at that $70 tier. I think like a 2D Mario and a 2D Mario and a 2D Zelda, those games were always going to be priced at $70 no matter what, whether it been eShop or as a retailer price. But now you're given the option of where you can knock that down to as low as $60. I'm thinking
like
that in
it's
that regard, it's good. Now, the bigger question comes into play is how are you going to handle those games that normally would have cost 80, like a Mario Kart World? Future games like that will be in that predicament would be games like an Animal Crossing, a Smash Brothers, a 3D Mario, and a brand new 3D Zelda. Not like what could have been like a remake of a past game. That might be in its own little realm. But a brand new one, like whatever comes after Tears of the Kingdom, those games could have been easily $80 retail, but does that mean that those are 70 on the eShop? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see on those.
yeah, I genuinely don't know. I'm kind of just disappointed in the entire gaming industry right now. Nothing interesting is happening. No actual games are being announced. This year is such like a stopgap year. Nothing is happening. Like what is fucking I guess Sony's got Wolverine and like really that's it. Xbox has that Gears of War game. Who fucking cares? And Nintendo doesn't have anything interesting coming out. So you have the indie games really carrying everything. You know, games like Mina the Hollower and like DLC for Hollow Knight Silk Song and Chapter 5 for Deltarune are really the only interesting things coming up. So it's like it's just such an uninteresting time to be a fan of video games in my opinion, especially when you have stuff like this pushing the digital future. And like I guess it's good for people that bought all their games digital anyways, good for you. You're technically saving money, but I don't know. It's not Nintendo isn't passing us the savings. They've been really greedy recently. Like they had no reason to increase the price of the controllers. Like what was that? Remember when they did that? Like they increased what was it? They
Oh,
increased
but that was because of the whole tariffs thing. So it's not like
but they never brought
chips.
it down.
I mean, yeah,
Like
but
I
no company has been really bringing that mess back. Well, I give Nintendo a tiny sliver of respect. They brought it down for some of their amiibos. Like for example, the Mario and the Rosalina ones. They actually knocked those down $5 extra or whatever. Though it's not been a lot with the
see like
accessories with the controllers though, but it's a little something because a lot of the other companies out there they hadn't really been doing that. At least anything I've been catching.
and like I want to like agree with you, but then they just recently announced more amiibo where like those the King Dedede and Tank Star I think it's $60 or something. It's $55. It is the most expensive amiibo to date. It is $10 more than the Meta Knight amiibo for what looks like the exact same like size and all that. And that releases on July 2nd, same day as Rhythm Heaven Groove. Either way, like I don't know. I think the only reason that they did that is because they weren't like Nintendo projected they weren't going to sell well. I don't know if you've seen it. Those Tears of the Kingdom amiibo are still rotting on the shelves. Same with the Street Fighter 6 amiibo.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, the people that wanted that mess pretty much have it at this point, and then occasionally
That's what
that
I'm
stuff will go
saying.
on sale, and then more people will
Like
pick it up.
the fact that they thought $40 per Street Fighter, maybe it was 30. The
30
fact that they
something, 30.
thought, yeah, the fact that they thought that was a reasonable price for each amiibo is crazy. Same for the Tears of the Kingdom.
But
I'm
those
not paying
amiibos had a higher
$30
markup
just for
price
one.
because of those tariffs. Like those ones got hit really, really hard.
Yeah. Well,
But
guess what? It's even well. Guess what? We've just been getting fucked two ways. Then we got fucked by tariffs, and now we're getting fucked by the AI bubble, and we're getting fucked by physical gaming. So, like, we're just getting, and then Xbox is fucking us, and PlayStation is fucking us. Sorry, Zard, but we're just getting destroyed from all sides here.
man, that E is gonna pop up on so much of these podcast episodes. If it ain't got one now, it certainly got one. Oh gosh dang.
Well,
Well,
whatever. I'm pissed. Sorry. Okay.
oh
Let's just get
god.
to the next topic. That
All
one
right.
I'm actually interested about.
Okay, and this is the last topic of the night right here, though, because we got some reports from Nate the Hate, and Nate the Hate's been pretty spot on with a lot of his stuff in terms of like some of these past few directs. Basically, almost dating back to like I think he started catching a little bit of steam at the early parts of 2025, rolling into what was about to be the Switch 2 launch and its release dates and its debut lineup and launch window and all of that stuff. Even though I've been hearing and listening to Nate the Hate way longer and way before that, I've been dropping some teasers and stuff like that here in the podcast episodes way before he caught a lot of steam up on here, though. That's how I was kind of throwing y'all some little bit of nuggets and information from time to time, though. But now everybody's caught on, so I don't really have that advantage no more, though. And now it's like people kind of taking him as like a prophet almost in terms of like Nintendo news when Nintendo doesn't want to give us any Nintendo Directs anytime soon. And here he is almost laying out everything for what you can kind of roughly expect for the rest of 2026. And two of the major hitters, one of them I kind of predicted in my little 2026 predictions video that I always do in December for like my wish list or everything I'm expecting. I predicted one of these things well before he said this. So go back and watch that video to hear my thoughts on that. But the other one, I was not expecting this in 2026. And yes, I'm referring to a Ocarina of Time remake and a brand new Starfox game. Now let's talk about Starfox first. Because Starfox, I was like, what the heck? It kind of makes sense now, hearing this in retrospect, in comparison to how they've been marketing Starfox in the movies. And based on the reporting that Nate has been saying, he's saying expect it roughly to release around the month of June. If that's the case and we're already in April, it means that they're just going to drop a trailer at some given point in the Nintendo Today app, kind of like how they revealed the release dates for Yoshi and the Mysterious Book and Rhythm Heaven Groove. That's what we're going to be kind of expecting because they want to just do a random all direct. I mean, obviously that is direct worthy per se though, but when it's only for just one specific game for just 2 months about to come out, yeah. As for the Ocarina of Time thing, they could say that for a general direct because I think that would happen way later on in the year though. But whatever though. Back to Star Fox
But
though.
like, why is Nintendo's marketing so terrible? Just just do a direct mini, god damn it. You could have done a direct mini announcing this, announcing the release date for like Rhythm Heaven, and also getting a new trailer for Fire Emblem. And like that would have at least gotten people a little excited. This
Yeah, we
Nintendo
hadn't had a
today has
direct
done
mini in
no.
a long
N-
time. Now I'm
Guess
thinking
what?
about that.
Nintendo today has done nothing but make it Nintendo news less interesting. Why was Splatoon Raiders announced, shadow dropped on there? Why was Metroid Prime 4 hardly even advertised at all? And like
Oh, they
got
knew that
nothing.
game was trash. That's the reason why. They
But that's
already
what I'm saying.
or not or no no no.
Well,
I
I'm just
retract that
saying.
statement. Not that it was
But see
trash,
how
but the fact that they probably blew a lot of the budget out when they had to go back and rework on the
yeah.
game all
Well,
those
guess
years. They
what?
didn't have much left to do anything with bargaining. That's
Alright.
probably the issue.
Well, guess what? Kirby Air Riders got two directs, okay? And those directs actually convinced some people on the game. There was people that originally really weren't gonna get it and then got it because wow, the cool direct. This direct came out and it shows a bunch of stuff about the game. And like, like a game like Kirby Air Riders really needed something like that. While like I guess Rhythm Heaven doesn't really need a direct, but even just some kind of like overview trailer or some kind of like acknowledgement, especially a new Star Fox game. Like you're just gonna drop that on Nintendo today, like oh new Star Fox game, it's coming right now, or coming in June or this and that, whatever they decide. Like, and I do hope there is a new Star Fox game because after playing 64, I certainly do see the appeal of just a small, even if it is like a smaller scale game. You know what I mean? Where it's like only a couple levels, but it's like the type of game that you can replay constantly.
No, yeah, and
That'd,
I
that'd be
think that I
cool.
think there's a lot of promise to having a Star Fox game in the year of 2026. What kind of crazy statement that is? Based upon all of this, obviously it'll have a brand new campaign. We don't know exactly what the actual style of how the game will portray, but I'm looking for some kind of evolution beyond what we had Star Fox 64 that's been remade and redone several times over now.
Well,
But I'm pretty sure it's still going to be on rails at least for a good chunks of what would the thing or what would a lot of the missions be. But I would like to have some free roaming stuff to sprinkle up in there though, because if you could take some of the best aspects of like what Starlink was, which some people like that game, some people don't. But take some of the best elements in terms of that and with the free roaming, and then take some inspiration of what you've been able to do with Star Fox Assault way back when on the GameCube. Let's say that that's a really good Star Fox game though. They're able to hop out of the ship, do foot actions, go back into the R wing, do some crazy fighting like that up in the skies or in space. That's really cool. But that's kind of my hope and wish that at least they're able to evolve upon it though. And apparently there is going to be some online play up in these games as well, which thank goodness.
uh, from if I had to make a single guess, because I don't want to continue on this too long because we are definitely overextending on the
Yeah,
time
we in OT.
here. Alright, either way, I definitely think Fox will have his new design from the movie. I think that's a given. Like, they gave him a new design in the movie for a reason. If this game is real, it will have this. And, that's really all I have to say about a Star Fox, because I kind of have to see it to believe it, you know?
Yeah, because
But
it
the
is
new
one of
Star
those.
Fox, who knows what it will be. But, like, I don't know, then you have an example like, the Ocarina of Time remake, which you remember a couple podcasts ago? I said this whole thing to you already. We had a whole discussion about why I thought an Ocarina of Time remake made the most sense. Do you remember this?
Yeah, I remember you mentioning. It was like yeah,
I had
like
a
what you
Yeah,
said
there
a
was like
couple of weeks,
yeah,
couple
I had a
episodes.
whole conversation. Remember, I was telling you, it was like a bunch of different things. It was Zelda's 40th anniversary, obviously. It was Ocarina of Time being one of the biggest games. It was them needing some kind of holiday release, and with how Zelda has grown in popularity, this would certainly fit the bill. And you know, like it would be a great tech showcase, taking a game like Ocarina of Time and just fully redoing it. And it would be quite simple because it's a small game, so you could really focus on making it look nice more than anything
You know what?
without having to,
Art
like
style wise, someone threw this out there. I'm 100% right behind that. If you remember back when they had the Wii U tech demo thing and they showed off like a
oh,
Legend
that
of Zelda, if we had Ocarina of Time looking like that, because it doesn't need to be like in the same art style as like a Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, like you got to differentiate it some
I
kind of
don't
way though.
I don't really
But
want it to look like
I,
that.
I'm okay with it looking like that because I feel like if it was modernized, like if Ocarina of Time wasn't made back in the 64 era, it was made in today's era with today's graphics, but I have the still same tone as what the game actually portrays it as. I think it will kind of be very similar to that Wii U tech demo. It's almost kind of gritty, but not nearly as dark as what would be like a Twilight Princess, but it's kind of up there. And I'm
I
like, you know
just
what? If it looks sharp like that Wii U tech demo, I'll take that in terms of an art style. Would it being a
I
remake?
think I just think you could do something really interesting with a like pseudo hand drawn style. Like make everything like not necessarily hand drawn, but take Breath of the Wild cell shading to the next level. You know what I mean? like fully integrate like 2D elements, like when you swing your sword have like a swoosh effect, like smear frames, this and that. Take a lot of notes from like, I've seen a lot of like people taking like, 3D elements and adding more 2D characteristics to them. Make it like this super stylized, like almost looks like the artwork for Ocarina of Time brought to life. And obviously the environment you can still have super detailed, but like I don't know, I feel like if you do Ocarina of Time, you have to do something different from just making it look better. whether that's whether that's like maybe adding new content, because remember Ocarina of Time was missing a ton of fucking content. They cut like a couple temples from that game. So let's just say they maybe brought back some, brought in some new content that was cut from the original game as like a selling point on top of remaking it. I would love that.
Yeah,
It's
and I mean,
my base expectations are definitely just the remake being a remake of the game.
rework some of them temples because I know some of them gave some fans some little frustrations here and there.
No, I think
Um,
they should keep the
no, no,
level design the exact
no,
same.
not exactly the same. Like obviously modernize some things though. It doesn't have to be exactly one to one because I
No,
mean your one to one is the original one. Look, this is gonna probably be the one and only time this game is gonna be truly remade in HD and be an actual remake versus a remaster like what we had with the 3DS version.
the
Probably for
3DS
the last
version is a
time.
remake.
It,
What are you talking about?
I consider that
It
more
is
like
a
almost.
remake.
It is
Yeah,
a
no,
remake, and they did
those are
reworks,
different
and
words.
they did technically do that. Yes, they did modernize and made some conveniences and stuff like that.
Yes,
Yes, I'll give you that.
but
But
remaster and remake are different words. Remake means that they went in and remade the code, which is what they did. A remaster is just taking the base code and making it look nice, like Metroid Prime. The 3DS versions are remakes. They are not built off of the original in any ways. I'm just clarifying because
yeah,
yes, it is a remake. They would be doing a remake of a remake, which is, that has happened before.
I don't think this will be like a remake based on the 3DS. Like, they won't go to the 3DS as a source. They're gonna go back to the 64 as a source. When they
No, I
obviously
think
remake that one, but in proper HD, not on 240p on the 3DS or whatever though.
well,
But
either way, they will have more buttons. You could have tons more buttons to like select stuff on.
yeah, so I mean, button mapping and stuff that would be a whole lot better. Maybe they'll modernize some of those dungeons that were a little bit more complicated and such, though. Deal with the item management a little bit better. Throw in a couple of extra new dungeons and stuff. The story will be tweaked just minorly because if you're adding in a couple new dungeons, I mean, you can't just have everything be exactly one to one. And basically, remake this game, put some additional flair up on the story. I know it's going to be touched. Some purists ain't going to like that, whatever. You have the original Ocarina of Time. You can still play either through NSO or whip out your analog 3D or your original Nintendo 64 and play it like that. It's not every day that you're going to have Ocarina of Time remade like this. And this is probably going to be the last time it's probably ever going to be touched outside of them just like bringing the port straight back over or something like that, though, unless they had like something stupid like a 16K version that's like 20 years down the line or whatever though. But that would be just a remaster at that point. This is probably your one and last final hurrah that Ocarina of Time is ever going to get in terms of being underneath the limelight in terms of what could be a really good remake. So if you're going to do it, go balls to the walls. Don't hold nothing back. And, put everything up in this thing. Put
You
your
know what?
put everything up in it. Throw the whole kitchen sink at this mess because it ain't happening again. At least maybe not in our lifetime, Steven. But yeah,
I'm gonna put you on blast, okay? You need to play the original Ocarina of Time completely. You need to like actually beat it
now
because
look here.
it
If
is
they
insane how
it
you haven't beaten it.
look, I always get so far, and then I'll get all the way up to the point of the first dungeon or something like that, and then something else
Well,
whips
that's
away my attention or whatever though. Whether
well, like
I've been
it's
doing
just
like
okay.
a PC related thing or I've been playing it originally on like NSO or whatever though. I always get whipped away from this thing
Fine,
though. And
but
then
like
low key, I always been kind of telling myself, watch them actually remake the game, and then that's how I'm gonna wind up playing the thing though. But whatever though.
I'm putting you on blast. If this remake is real, you need to play the original. You need to beat the original because like it's just crazy how like you have you play you've played like Skyward Sword, you've played Breath of the Wild, you played Tears of the Kingdom. You're a relatively new Zelda fan. You gotta like actually play the originals.
I played Majora's Mask. I played Ocarina.
You
Well,
beat
not Ocarina.
did you
I
beat
beat
Majora's
Majora's. I
Mask?
beat Majora's
Then how
Mask.
the fuck have you not beaten
It's
Ocarina?
because
Ocarina's harder.
Nintendo gave me Majora's Mask for free because I was part of the Nintendo Club thing that they used to
Oh
have
my
back on the
god.
3DS. And during those 3DS times, I'll play pretty much any game I had because it's not like I had a million one 3DS games. But by the time I bought Ocarina of Time for the 3DS, I got that a month or two Breath of the Wild came out, and I just wrapped up Twilight Princess at that point. So, yeah, my attention was elsewhere, and I never just had a long enough attention span to sit down and play Ocarina of Time. That's the story behind it. But no,
Fair enough.
I played quite a bit of Zelda games. It's not like I'm relatively new to the series whatsoever. I'm up there, but rest assured, I just want this game to be great, and I don't want. There's gonna be some people out there. There's gonna be some salty fans that might not necessarily like it, just based on them being a purist or whatever. Though, I understand it fully. I understand the sentiment, but come on. If you're gonna remake this game, you're gonna have to take risks. Go ahead and take them. I will not fault you whatsoever in terms of whatever risk you have to do in order to get this remake done, to give it the extra new flair and stuff like that, to bring in some maybe new fans to the series that probably were never going to touch the original Ocarina of Time on the 64, because there's some weird kiddos out there that's just like, I can't handle the graphics of the Nintendo 64. I'm like, I don't know how in the world people are able to say that like that. That cuts and hurts my soul hearing stuff like that, though.
Well,
But
because
I'll leave it at.
people are fucking simple-minded. Okay, they just want to see nice, bright colors, and they want it to have realism and this and that, and because no one's got an imagination anymore. They can't look at a low poly thing and imagine like what it would look like. You know, they they just see it and they're like, oh, this looks old, or oh, this it looks boring, because like it's not like immediately eye candy to them. I don't know. I hope this remake is good. I'm leaving it at that. There is one last thing I'd like to really quickly mention, because it could age really funnily, if that's all right.
Uh-huh.
And this is kind of like hot news for today. I'm sure you heard about it. Nintendo is apparently spreading around leaks that are purposely fake in order to out certain leakers. Have you heard about that?
I heard about it, and I feel like it's one of the most non-story issues ever. Reason why I say that is Nintendo's constantly doing this stuff all the time, whether or not we're paying attention to it or not, just to weed out the rats. Like, you got to smoke them jokers out. Like, them ninjas be working on the clock 24/7. I mean,
Yeah, but
there's
like,
no way that they aren't always doing this, just here and there. We heard little stories from time to time about how they kind of caught some people here and there on some of that mess, though. But I mean, they're always typically doing this stuff, though. But it's interesting how now, out of all time, someone wants to make a news topic on this based purely on the stuff that Nate the Hate has thrown out there with like the Ocarina of Time stuff and the new Star Fox or whatever, though. Because Nate the Hate's been given, tidbits, rumors, which some happen to turn out to be actual leaks later on. He's been doing this way longer than these it's
yeah,
almost been
but
a little
like,
more than a year that people kind of gravitated towards him for. So why pick a time out of now to kind of do all of this stuff? I don't get it.
oh, Nate the Hate isn't always like verifiable though. He was like, oh, Pokemon's gonna be 2026. Ended up being 2027. He said 3D Mario was gonna be 2026. Ended up changing that. You're changing his prediction to be 2027. Back in 2025, he was saying that a Kirby Planet Robobot like HD remaster was like basically done and about to be revealed, and that was never revealed. And like, I don't know, the fact that he just like you know the fact that he's getting all these news from sources, it's like, I don't know, maybe his source got compromised, or Nintendo is feeding him fake info because they realize he's been right about stuff. Because he was right about all of the Switch 2 stuff. You got to remember that.
Yeah. So I mean, and
And
that's the thing.
Nintendo
He
obviously seen that.
and that's the thing though too with him. It's not that it's just all coming from one person. He's really good about the stuff that because there's a confidence level in terms of the way how he staggers and stuff. Like, for example, the Planet Robot stuff, the way how he worded it, it wasn't like 100% like he felt really good about it. He just said he just knows of something about it. Kind of like how he mentioned about the whole thing with what was it, the Fire Emblem genealogy of a holy war. Like, he felt pretty good that was a thing, but he didn't know exactly when that might have got slated in the thing, or if it got shelved or whatever, though. But the stuff that he feels really confident, and he got really, like, for example, when he talked about the Switch 2 presentation, when that trailer was going to drop or whatever, though, he doesn't have just one source with that. He has a couple or a few, and he cross-verifies everything to make sure it lines up with just a handful of people that he has as actual sources, not just all coming from one person. So given all of that, it's kind of one thing to catch one person in the act, but to capture like 3 to maybe 5 good people, I mean, it's gonna be something though. But that's just kind of how
It's
I've
just
known him all these years that I've been kind of listening to his podcast.
I just think, and like that's fine, but like I just think if Nintendo has been spreading around fake rumors to like bring him down and ruin his credibility, that would be really funny. I genuinely think that'd be really funny. So like all these recent rumors, the Star Fox game, the Ocarina of Time remake, they potentially could be fake rumors that Nintendo sent out just to catch them and
It
like
could
find
be, but
out
at the
their
same
sources.
point,
But I don't know. Nintendo has done this in the past, like when they infiltrated that Discord server for Ryujinx to take down that emulator.
mm-hmm.
Like this has happened. Like when Tears of the Kingdom got leaked and that emulator was like, oh, you buy our Patreon to play Tears of the Kingdom early. Nintendo was on that shit. Nintendo infiltrated their secret Discord server and like got tons of evidence that they used in court. So like Nintendo is a lot more in the online sphere than we give them credit for. They're a giant company at the end of the day. So if Nintendo is spreading around fake leaks, that would be really funny. I said this to Kyle earlier. Maybe Mario Titans was made by them. Maybe Mario Titans
That's just the
just
dumbest thing ever with Mario Titans. I can't even
yeah,
believe
but
you brought that
Zard,
up on here.
it's possible. It wasn't AI. It was too consistent to be AI.
No,
There's a
that all of this stuff
possibility.
looked like AI to me. That's the reason why I never even
No.
brought it up on the show.
Well, guess what? It's a not it I'm pretty sure no one ever actually like confirmed or like was really able to give any actual evidence that it was AI. I haven't seen any actual evidence like proving that it was AI. Basically, what I seen was that it took random screenshots from different games, like like it would take a model like Odyssey Mario and put it next to like a model from 3D World. It was just a lot of like asset rips and stuff like that.
Yeah,
But
I
like
think that's just
there
some
was
fan that got cocky and made up a bunch of stuff just as a talking point. I ain't really giving
well,
that
guess
much credit
what?
whatsoever.
I if Mario Titans was just another leak to throw people off of the scent that Nintendo themselves made, I just think that would be so fucking funny. I
Out of anything, Mario Titans would have been the one thing to try to throw off some people though. But I would say the Ocarina of Time and the Star Fox name probably wouldn't be. If you're gonna pick some things out there, then yes, because I know Nintendo they do this all the time, whether we know about it or not. But I don't know. It's I just find it kind of interesting that now out of all times, someone's gonna bring this up because I bet you no one was gonna run with this topic or say this well before Nate the Hate even threw out even predictions out there. Like now you want to mention this stuff, like mention it beforehand, say all about that stuff, and then have something like Nate the Hate come out here and say some stuff like that. Then I'll be like, okay,
will see.
maybe. But no, you did
Because
it after the fact, so I'm like,
I think in a way it is genius marketing because like Super Mario Titans, whether you like it or not, did get people talking. Like that like did spread pretty
because people
because
are hungry for Mario related
but
stuff, and
that's
I'm
what I'm
still over here
saying.
eating on my Donkey Kong.
I think that's just Nintendo stoking the fire, getting people ready for Mario. Like,
Yeah.
because we will see obviously what happens in the future. We'll see if Mario Titans is a fake game or if it's a real game and all of these images are just fake AI recreations. But like if Nintendo's sending out fake leaks and Ocarina of Time and Star Fox are all fake leaks, I'm genuinely curious what they even have this year.
No, because the Ocarina of Time thing lines up with my prediction. I was already predicting that as
Oh,
early back as 2025. Star Fox is the one thing I did not have on my list. I would have saw Kid
yeah,
Icarus over Star Fox, so but like still, I'm like okay,
we'll
but
see.
we
Yeah,
will
I don't.
see.
I genuinely think the Ocarina of Time remake thing just makes so much sense.
Yeah, it makes sense with the anniversary and stuff. So and normally they would like to put out a Legend of Zelda game every year, so it doesn't break the cycle with that. So I'm like okay, all right. Well, outside of that, I think we did enough OT for y'all to make up for the past 5 weeks that we've been kind of gone. Should have been back here 3 weeks ago though, but I'm sorry about all of the stuff that has transpired since then though. But hey, we made it all up within this one episode right here though. So I hope y'all really enjoyed this long and meaty but well overdue ZardCast episode 120 though. But my goodness though, Steven, let the fine people know where they can find you at.
You can find me on Twitter at StevenJr1231, or you can find me on a YouTube channel I used to do with some friends called Spaghetti Disco.
Alrighty, and that's going to truly do it in terms of my ZardCast episode 120 though. So yeah, if you really like this podcast, make sure you're going to hit that like button, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and that bell to stay up to date. All things video game related I feel like talking about and discussing now. And if you happen to be one of my audio only fans that happen to like to listen to me here on the pod, whether it be Amazon Music, Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio. Yes, you can listen to me here in the car, YouTube Music, and everywhere else in between. I have all my different podcast shows hosted on those servers. Feel free to like it there, give a 5-star review. Just let people know, say, hey, you know, we're just a couple of dudes that just love talking about everything. Nintendo, gaming related, some PlayStation here, bashing on Xbox here and there though. I mean, we rarely ever have a positive moment with Xbox here, at least on this show at least though. We'll congratulate them when they do something good though, whenever that happens, year, 2, maybe 5 years from now, whenever though. And then obviously we like to talk about some pop culture stuff and obviously our Marvel news whenever we can feast upon that though. We got some good stuff coming from Marvel, so that's always nice. But yeah, that's really going to do it in terms of my ZardCast episode 120, y'all. So remember, y'all, until our video I make next, until my next ZardCast episode, hopefully this one should be in the next 2 weeks because I think I'm finally about to get things back on the road, though. And sorry about the lack of content on the channel, though. I actually got some videos planned for the next 2 Fridays, so you got that to look forward to as well. If you got all the way to the end of the podcast episode, hey, you heard it here first. Y'all my diehard fans, so I really appreciate y'all sticking to the end, though. But that's going to do it. I'll see y'all on the next one in the next couple of weeks for my ZardCast episode 121. So I'll see y'all later.